doesn't make it to globals, if Mr. I'm not going, I won't be there.
Yeah.
I'm not going.
I mean, Bugha threats and craze. When you see Bugha's name, he is just synonymous for competitive Fortnite all the way back to the beginning and still competing at such a top level. And I'd love to look at actually the history of this trio, just seeing how Bugha has been performing since Chapter 5, because a lot of people seem to kind of always consider him as like, oh, you know, he's like washed, he's not a top level competitor anymore. But every single year, every major, we see him, maybe not in the top 10, but when we do, he is making sure that he is making a statement and even getting so close to qualifying, getting 6th place in Major 2, just missing out that global spot by 1 placement. But after picking up Craze, Vivid, I am so excited to watch this trio play. I feel like Craze has just been the puzzle piece that they have been missing, and I think that as a full trio, they have so much potential.
Oh, they absolutely do. When you kind of take a look at this trio, the roles, they seem very, very defined, right? You, of course, have Bugha there for the IGL, the calls, the game plan, what to do when, right? Because he has so much experience in Fortnite competitive. And then you have Threads, who's, you know, not only been a teammate with Bugha, right? So that's comfortable for them, but somebody who's known for his aim, right? This guy will 100% be towards the top of like a damage done leaderboard at the end of these 12 games without a doubt. So they got the guy who's gonna get him the calls, they got the guy who's gonna get him the storm surge, and then they now have the young gun Craze, who's gonna bring the mechanics, who's gonna find them the eliminations, find them the refreshes that they kind of need in the late game to make sure that they can make it into the later stages of some of those zones. Yeah, Kelly, I gotta agree with you. This trio is looking very, very good on paper.
I like it, guys. I mean, this is just stacked, right? Like, this is gonna be one of the craziest majors I think we've ever seen. With only 2 minutes left to go before we kind of start kicking off the competition, I gotta hear from you guys. What are you excited to see? Obviously, this is just day 1, right? And we talk about all the time, day 1 teams versus day 2 teams. You know, what are you guys hoping to see out of just day 1?
Well, now I'm excited to see who's going to be dropped on. Is there going to be these surprise contested, like Vivid saying, these little whispers that's going on that could completely shake up the way that things go in the FNCS? And there's one thing that I always say about Fortnite is that it is unpredictable. You truly do not know if a POI is going to even be there the next day or who's going to be landing on you. The best thing about these players is their adaptability.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the season, right, we're all been like, man, there's kind of like a lack of tournaments. We can't really see what's going on NA, and then the changes that happen every single week, right? It's like if you go ahead and take notes throughout the season in preparation for this grand finals, right? And it's all like just like a stack of paper with all those notes. Yeah, all of them just get thrown out like every single day. It's like, and you just got to rewrite them down. So I'm excited to get into game number 1. I want a formulated kind of plan and an expectation to be set for the rest of the 11 games. Because as of right now, it kind of feels like we have no idea what's going to happen. So game 1 for me is going to be like, okay, what's going on? Let me pay attention to every little detail.
Okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot. If you have to pick what's a tree to win right now, who's it gotta be? Who's it gonna be? Pick one.
Oh,
don't think about it. Gut reaction. Go.
Peterbot.
Kelly's going with Peterbot. Listen, you know, I love Peterbot. I've kind of been on the Peterbot train for a very long time. I think they're going to do very, very good, but I think the storyline would just be too good right now to not say Clix Higgs.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
That's fair. Look, you know, Kelly, I feel like there's just so many names, right? It's like, dude, you just look at the lobby list. It's like, bro, you could tell me like 20 different trios and I'd be like, yeah, all of them could win. Absolutely. You know, we'll have to just see how things unfold, how forgiving the zone is. And we all know it ain't forgiving at all. So with that being said, it is that time. 6 games today and then 6 games tomorrow. And we will finally know and see the full picture of which trios will be going on to the global championship in Beyond. Fortnite fam, buckle up because game 1 starts now.
Thankfully, Monster, I've been buckled up since the start of the show. And let's take a trip real quick. Major 1, a 14-point difference between 1st and 2nd place. Major 2, 11-point difference between 1st and 2nd place. Monster, I hope this weekend that trend continues.
Major 2 was absolute cinema. I think it put NA just at the front line of pure entertainment. No matter what we know for certain that we are in store for great games and some wonderful action. And then we've already talked about it. You have a wild card trio in the mix here coming up from Brazil. So I am so looking forward to what's going to unfold here at the north side of the map. I almost feel bad that they are all so close to one another because anything can happen now.
Yeah, especially if we get a lot of those north zones, forcing those teams to kind of interact very, very early on in some of these games. But I want to say about that probability chance that Kinch kind of broke down. To me, if I was one of those teams that was not in that top 5, that would light a fire in my heart to kind of perform the very best that I can. There's only 2 more spots up for grabs with 6 teams already qualified. So you don't even necessarily have to shoot for the top of the leaderboard. But you guys heard that sound. The battle bus is ready. Let's get into game number 1.
Grand finals time, baby. Game number 1's kicking off here, and now Major 3 has arrived. And what a time to be alive. What a time to be a Fortnite fan as we get to watch this here with front row seats to the action, Jacob. Obviously, it couldn't be a better time now to push your way through the globals. We already know most of the big ticket teams have nothing to worry about. It's about what spots are remaining here.
Yeah, and already I can see the drop map. The dust is settled. Everybody marking their spot early on before the tournament. Oh, I'm contested so-and-so. Oh, I'm going here. You can see Peterbot, uncontested. Clix, uncontested. Kanata, uncontested. And right here, right now, uncontested as well. If you look at the opinions of a lot of the Fortnite community, those are the top 4 teams that are in the race for the championship. And to start off game number 1, Monster, all of them uncontested.
What I love too is like all the interview content we kind of got in lead up. You got to hear essentially from the players themselves. Kanata, how he has no doubt in his mind he'll be taking his seat to globals. How Acorn feels like now more than ever this is more competitive now that he isn't wiping Pollo out the early game of the map here. And then let's jump in with Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx. Obviously, last chance qualifier on the line when it matters most. They come through, they clutch up, they put in the work. And now running through a team like Bryce, right, clashing up against this squad right here. This is a player, this is a trio that have slowly and consistently shown that they can even win in LAN settings as well. So this is a pretty big battle, Jacob.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with it. I like the way you were kind of heading with that conversation. When you look at the names of Dash, Skittles, and Bryce, you may not see them as kind of the top names, a name to be scary, but already throughout this season, they kind of moved on over to the resistance space, and this not been an easy fight no matter who has been contesting this side of the map, and already proven they could be a force to be reckoned with. Yes, Muzz, Shadow, they still got to fight for that reboot card. We'll see how much success we find over there, but back over to the last order. This is where you can kind of see that off-spawn fight. 3 teams over here, Monster, triple contested. Nico's in such a tough spot underneath. Liam shows up at a perfect time to pressure not one, but all 3 of those teams to try to slow down the push.
Nice little tag there for Liam to kind of open this one up. You know, first order is not big enough for 3 trios by any means, so these fights are going to get pretty scrappy here. I'm more interested to see who's going to make an adjustment coming out of this. This is not the place you want to be for a grand finals, right? For some, it's their first time making their appearance, right? Their first true time trying to get their feet kind of wet in this upper level of competition. For others like Liam, I mean, very experienced. He's holding its own right now very nicely.
Yeah, just kind of jumping, creating distance. May not be big 105 shots by any means, but he's at least fighting back just like that, chipping him down little by little. Josh was down first. Tyler follows him to the lobby curb with 13 HP. He does have some heals in his inventory if he could manage a way to escape, but it's just not only that team that you have to worry about. There's still a 3rd trio there. They might not be all 3 members up, but there's still a threat, but in the distance from Porta Potty. Liam, that's why you know they're landing here. They just know the terrain so well.
Just kind of angle play there from Liam, but more importantly, talk about holding his own in the 2v1. Just take a look at that tag right there to give him the advantage. Just everything you expect from a very much experienced trio here, an individual like Liam. Jumping into the other things though, Sphinx getting picked up here, looks like from the reboot, but Dash, Bryce, and Skittles absolutely ready for the action here. Get a couple opening tags. Shadow is going to come down to him to go on and put up some good defense right now. And Muzz playing wonderful side angles there. Is going to go on and defend properly.
Yeah, I see the idea. Sphinx fresh off the reboot. They know they got half damage there. So they thought for a second he was kind of positioned by himself. They looked like they were going to push him by But Muzz right there basically saving the day. They get the reboot up. Sphinx doesn't even get downed, and that's going to be the biggest difference maker. Because he gets downed, you know as well as I do, this trio probably pushes, trying to keep their numbers intact. But the fact that those trees essentially saving the day, not giving them the line of sight to get that knock on the Sphinx, forcing them to kind of disengage on out. And you know how stacked this side of the zone is. They're trying to move on over, but they're stuck between now Muzz's team and Reed's team over at Flooded Frogs.
Yeah, this is a tough spot to be in. This rotate's not going to be easy. It's going to get real exciting here for Skittles, Bryce, and Dash. And, I mean, it's from one problem straight into another. Reed's going to need to find his Storm Surge. We'll see what's all going to fold there shortly. But first, take a look at this replay here. Couple big eliminations there, kicking things off for Madden's team. On the other side, we have a little sample of Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual set up here, playing, again, a huge Storm base, pushing it way outwards so that you're kind of in the render distance for the trios in a distance. This is one of those strategies that is no stranger to the upper Fortnite competition, right? What you really have to be careful of is how high the thresholds are going to be now as the game starts to develop.
Yeah, and you can kind of see that, you know, Vivid, Kelly, Zeke, they all broke it down from major to major. Those thresholds just getting higher and higher. That's just more and more teams taking note of what's going on around the map. That risk versus reward. Yeah, you can be flashy. You could try to box fight the nearest team next to you, but that kind of increases a third-party chance, increases your own chance of going down. And that's why you see these massive, massive surge towers, 6 to 7 layers high, spreading the distance to cover that render distance you were talking about. And the amount of heals around these uncontested POIs, Crime City here being one of them. You saw it, Ritual kind of converging all those heals at the bottom of these ramps all into one location. So when they do take an immense amount of damage, it's so easy for them to start to heal up, get back into full health. And the other difference maker is, even if they do get a down monster, they're so far across the map by the time they try to push over. If they were, that player's gonna be up, he's gonna be revived, and he's gonna be full health.
Yeah, but what you're looking at right now is like not all Storm Surge is treated equal. Like Kanata has by far gotten the better, you know, of this trio here as they've kind of looked to fire at one another. So you do have to be careful. Like even look at Oliver OG's setup right now, right? Take all this damage, you still need to recover. You still have a whole game ahead of you, and truly it will come down to who is the better team at the end of the day.
Kind of seeing, you know, Oliver just going and getting all the scraps back. We talked about Ritual trying to bring all the loot on over to one spot. That's Oliver's job for this stream. Everybody kind of has their respective roles. We talk about IGLs, fraggers, support players. Well, somebody's got to get the heals to keep everybody healthy. Booga doing the same thing. Utopia, they kind of spread out in a triangle formation. Usually threats kind of towards the north of Utopia. Craze watching the south side of the map. Booga watching the Shining Spans part. And he noticed no team went on over to this bunker. He immediately beelined over with his misform, grabbed all the extra loot there. But he is only C rank, so there is still going to be more and more as the superhero ranks upgrade, more access to those chests. So if a team does continue to pull towards the south, I can maybe see Booga Threats and Craze trying to rotate over there and get that little bit of extra loot.
And they'll need it, and most certainly these hero ranks absolutely matter when it comes to getting the unlock to that upper tier kind of itemization. Looking at Cyclops, VLEX, HQ, kind of playing deep in the storm right now. Doing a nice little wide rotate here as they try to find themselves into the new zone.
Talk about the island. They brought up the tweet a little bit saying Boxcars, Island, Spire, we're keying absolutely everything. Ironically enough, the fight's going down below the island, so if they can find some rifts, they can easily try to get out of this position, take the high ground on over. It might be just a little bit too risky getting caught in those wind tunnels. You're just kind of open, susceptible to getting tagged up. And that's Taki, Isho, and Vert underneath. And this is a team that's been getting better each and every single major as individuals and as teammates.
One thing seems pretty clear right now is that Ishu, Taki, and Vert have gotten the better of Peterbot's team. As far as this initial engagement is concerned, you saw all of the shields on Ritual and Cold were at least around that 50% mark, and they seem to have kind of had to slow down there. So likely giving up the island, but getting the better of them, at least in that initial exchange.
Yeah, damage. It's like currency, allows you to flexibly walk around the map, rotate from zone to zone, especially if you get one of those dreaded max pools. As Ritual cold, Peterbot, they took that rift I was talking about. They got on top of the island, realizing no team's really going to contest him up there, and immediately goes from the island back on over towards Brutal Boxcars Mountain to try to take these priority positions in order to start to continue to accumulate that Storm Surge.
Yeah, they're not wasting any time. The team hot on their heels here. This is just what looks to be a preparation in full effect right now. And I absolutely love to watch this high caliber Fortnite in action right now. We'll get a little update with Peterbot in a couple moments, but first we got some action here. Zavi, Neko getting right back at it. Like, let's not forget, first order base, obviously they won that initial fight. The team that was here, Jigs, and the rest of the team had seemingly gotten their loot together, but they need that fight, right? They need the damage, most importantly here.
Yeah, and just kind of one of those situations where, you know, they are able to take down one of the 3 trios that did land over here. I believe they have a 3v2 advantage, and the zone is still close by, so they don't have the pressure to rotate on out just yet. But for Neko and Zavi, it's a whole different story. Depending on whether or not they got the reboot card or not, they might not be in that position to have the same flexibility, especially pressure coming in from both sides. Zavi getting most of his shields knocked off. And they're just getting surrounded. You see them just taking that different approach, just trying to lurk around, hide the video modules, and just kind of strike when they can.
I'm not gonna lie, it looks like desperation starting to kick in here. Metal being thrown all across this bottom layer. Neko trying to kind of plan the ambush from the side angle. Doesn't seem like he caught the big elim that he was looking for, and Zavi just so much pressure coming in, forcing him back into the first order low ground. He seems hungry to try to chase down that elimination. Neko's kind of desperate here to escape at this point in time.
Yeah, Zavi had no choice. He used the porta potty, but you can kind of see him on the lone island, the south side of the map, kind of leaving Neko. Luckily for him, he did have that misform. Tries to create distance, once again, using the porta potty, and he's just going further and further towards the north, farther and farther away from his teammates, which in one side could be bad, but on the other side, at least they have a chance to go back and get that reboot card. But action going down all around the map. Scares able to get that knock onto Madden. His teammate follows, and there goes the last one trying to be the hero, but he's going to follow them back to the lobby.
Nice little team elim right there to set things up. Little update here for Clix and Yamzo. See what it's looking like over here. Several dashes here on Clix's setup right now. Still playing the Supernova Academy very closely here at this given time. And we know what teams are off to the north. Most likely to be Reed, Cooper, Curly. Got Preston's trio kind of nearby, and off to the eastern side, Sineto, Ocean, and Cam. So really, any one of these trios can already be on the move, but it seems like Yamzo's hot on the heels of Reed and Cooper. Little does he know that they don't see him here, kind of lurking. He'll likely get those opening tags. I'm surprised to see Blake's trio playing this zone kind of deeply like this. So just telling of the situation at hand here. They want to make sure that they are not rotating too soon into anyone else's warpath, if you will.
They got a couple options here, too. They can go ahead and ride that first launch pad as deep as possible, and I think that one's going to be the case. But right next to them, there's that bunker, there's the rift. But what this is also going to do, because we talked about the surge towers, the overabundance of hills, all of them kind of collecting them. If they go at the bottom of some of these surge towers, they could find a little bit of extra resources that they can use. Heals to make sure to keep the ones in their loadout untouched. So it might not be the worst plan, but I will see the most drastic thing that is happening to a lot of these teams that are in that same position outside of the storm is you're kind of minimizing your win potential when it comes to that heal off at the end of the game.
There's that Cooper, Reed, and Curly trio rotating around the outskirts. That one little marker on the map, that's Yamzo looking at them from up above, looking for kind of some opening tags here. And there is a lurking trio still inside the zone. We knew that Crisis team was kind of moving behind, and big two-tap here from Reed onto Yamzo to put him down. Higgs is going to have to come to support ASAP. If not, it's not looking good right now for Clix and his teammate. Playing for the quick pickup here. Here, it all kind of unfolds right now. Reed backs off, kind of recognizing, wait a second, I don't need to open up here, but Curly falls, and a huge mistake being made there. And here comes Muzz's trio out of nowhere, collapsing in, taking full advantage of the chaos.
This is a prime example of why they sit in their surge towers, Monster, even after they get a knock. There's just too much distance. The revive came into play, and as soon as they were going to crash, Muzz's team got the knock onto Curly. Now Cooper and Reet are forced to try to stretch and use a lot of their materials in the fourth zone to try to make space. Shadow is putting down pressure. Clix, Yamzo, and Higgs, they've disengaged on out. They're just watching from above, smiling ear to ear, saying, hey, we started this, as Curly actually does get cleaned up by Dash. Monster, that is another trio around this spot on the map.
That's exactly where my head was going. Bryce and Dash's team seeing this all unfold here. They start to look in. They want a piece of the action. Why not find a few tags here? And, you know, they're thinking about Muzz's trio and how they were pushed off the drop. So that's personal for sure here. Clix, Yamzo, Higgs get bailed out of a treacherous situation and live to see another day. The team that is most affected right now is obviously Reed's team, but look, they've got in the reboot card and they seem to have skated out for a quick reboot here to come.
Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking of like Blessings. It is a North Zone this time around. So even though they're going back to their POI, Flooded Frogs, there's launch pads over there. They can close the distance, dash sprites as well. So I do expect them to get their teammate back into the game. But how much Storm Surge did they just lose off of him going down and getting rebooted back into the game? That might have impacted them later on as we continue to get closer and closer towards the ending portions. As Minish Visuals and Braids, they've rotated up from Foxy Floodgates, and they've kind of centered themselves in that middle portion of the map, getting as much Storm Surge as possible. I saw multiple knocks in the feed on them and on other players. So right now they just got to focus on their rotation, which seems a little bit easier because you see two more teams on top of the Brutal Boxcards Mountain, Bolts, Kanata, and Rapid being one of them.
Yeah, I saw Oliver OG's team affected there. Phaser taken down by Oliver OG just moments ago. So now it's all up to King, PH Zin, but it seems like they've managed to pick him back up and get him back in the game. And look, that puts them below the surge. And this is exactly what we just kind of expressed, right? When you get eliminated and brought back in, you are effectively losing all that progress in the game. It truly is a huge setback. So now, how can King, PH Zin, and Phaser play this one out? This is exactly what we wanted to highlight kind of in those opening moments. Those breakdowns were all about, can this team figure out how to pick up the surge damage that is most notably here on NA?
Yeah, and essentially they need a
Very
full
nice
elimination and some. Exactly that. They get that knock on the Blake. It did look like Oliver tried to go ahead and turn back, save the day, but he doesn't know. Full trios narrowing down, trying to get that elimination. 84 more damage for Storm Surge, but they still find themselves below the damage threshold. And with 2 eliminations for Diego and Blake, they're 600 above, Monster. All they need to do is survive this onslaught from the Brazilian powerhouses.
Pretty great defense here by Oliver OG, though. I didn't expect him to be able to kind of make a move like that, but Oliver calls for the dash out. Definitely wise to disengage here. Seems like King, PH Zin are not looking to give this one up. Oliver's going to go in and fall. Big crack from the side angle there. And it's just a matter of moments here now before Diego will fall here too, but not before he takes down some serious damage. Wait a second, that Siphon's gonna keep him in the game here. We can't count him out just yet. Cooper shows up as well. He gets put down by Phaser. What is going on here?
That early elimination, Curly going down, losing the Storm Surge. So many teams are being infected by that investment going sideways. And now with Cooper down, Curly's gone. Reet is just on the hunt, trying to take down Phaser, but it's just going to get more and more tough because I saw Higgs in the distance as well. And there's that first player of Oliver's team. It might have been Diego. He got that first elimination, but he goes down. What is going on?
You can't pay for action like this. Reed versus Phaser, one-on-one. This is where Reed shines, though. He queues up into fights like this all day long, but this time it's Phaser who connects the dots and closes the conversation right there. And now he will have a chance to get the pickup here, but look who's coming in. Other teams that need that damage. 668 below here for he lost the plot, but Phaser, I mean, he's warmed up. He's already done it against the best of the best. I think Plot's got something to worry about here.
I think this might be Chimp. OG Chimp. He may have lost the plot, but he might not have lost the skill. He's ready to kind of go ahead one-on-one against Phaser. Phaser's playing this so safe. He has 3 medkits. He has a decent amount of builds. He just needs to stay alive and continue to create distance. It's only bandages on the other side. He might not know this. This might be a hindsight thing to talk about. Monster He just needs to continue to stay alive. He doesn't even have to put pressure back. 6 builds. He continues to push forward. He knows his time is limited. Another big shot coming out from Phaser, but he did force the cancel of that first medkit.
Very nicely done by him as well. Plays the med kit, gets the siphon to kick in as well. And this is a huge damage tick happening here. I do think he might have storm sickness. Is that just, yeah, ticking away too fast. Too much time spent in the zone. And that's how it ends.
Honestly, I thought this major was going to be entertaining, but I didn't think it was going to be this entertaining this early on into game one. It just goes to show that everybody, you know, when it comes to the practice, the eval cup, the divisional cup, even those scrims, it's really all being put to use. All those tricks being exposed here early on. And you're seeing them with those risks that some of these teams took early in game number one. It didn't pay off. They might start to change up their thought process going into the next.
Really does make you think about how much time you spend in the zone. Bugha threats and Craze though, putting the laser to use here. Very, very nicely done there to go and open up elimination onto another player there for Craze's team. But Peterbot, Ritual, Cold have somewhat found their bearings. Just 114 above the damage threshold here. This is not usual for Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold, but this is where they shine best. They've made it to endgame, and now everyone has to be very much on their toes. Clix, Yamzo, and Higgs just sections away from danger here, and they need a fight.
Yeah, below the damage threshold, above the damage threshold. They find the open opportunity there from Yamzo onto Sinetto, and immediately, while Clix heals, the rest of his team pushes forward. They have that trust in each other for them to catch up. They clean up the elimination, get just a little bit more damage for their Storm Surge, but they're not in the zone just yet. While Higgs needs to heal, Clix as well. The damage is there. Yamzo is going to be the one leading the path, trying to build that perfect tarp of safety into the zone. And you're seeing the whole western side of the zone is stacked like a bunch of pancakes.
This is where Bugha threats and Craze cannot be slept on. Endgame experience coming in full effect here, and now they've somewhat positioned themselves up for the first to take high ground. Another trio off to the eastern side here. Seems like Surge is also active. Yamzo, Higgs, and Clix right below this base here. So majority of the lobby pulling the zone here. That's a very favorable outcome.
We're seeing, just looking over onto that team. The med mist smoke goes down. They don't necessarily see Veer and them getting affected by the active Storm Surge, but might not be the time to peek either. Especially since they're above it. They're peeking through the cones. They're looking at high ground. They're saying, hey, is right now too early. They did pull it on their side for the most part. But on the other side, Pollo, Agers, and Acorn, haven't seen too much of them, but 500 damage above the threshold. They have a clear rotation because as the zone opens up, it's going to give them more and more of a path to choose from.
Take a look at the highlight here once again from Yamzo's perspective to go ahead and initiate the knock here, kind of clean things up onto Sinetto's trio, and get them right into the position that they need to be in here in the end game. These elims also start to add up. Don't forget those points are super critical here to the overall tournament format. Bugha threats Craze back in the mix here. Give up the high ground, play for the mid layers, find a huge elimination here to keep them in the game. And just look at that. The vets starting to get active here, and what a find. Dashes here for the end game is absolutely perfect. Meanwhile, on high ground, who would have thought Bryce's team from the storm to the skies here are the first to take a stab up top. I wouldn't have even thought they'd have enough mats, and I guess I was right. They really don't have much, but they're putting up a flex here.
Yeah, but at least this is going to give them a little bit of bird's eye view. The biggest thing is I need to know if anybody on this team has a misform, because that's going to make it easy for them to get the eliminations, drop down low, get the resources, and go right back up to that high ground. But if they don't have it, that's just going to make it more and more risky. The zone does pull a little bit in their favor, but the little builds that they have, it's getting more and more on the edge of, do we go for it? Do we give up height? Do we drop down and try to get elimination? I don't think they're in a safe spot no matter what they do. 1,000 above the threshold, though, for Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold. They're just focusing on the rotations. They're letting those elimination opportunities come to them.
Yeah, Skittles and Bryce actually find the Elam as well. They might get the refresh they're looking for, and then look at this. Look at a crash course into Kanata Bolts here on the mid-ground, forcing them off to the side. Rapid, wait a second. What are you doing, buddy? You've left your team behind. Someone's lost the plot for real this time, and he has now had his team singled out, but look, they turn around and managed to secure a little bit of height. Kanata forced off the high ground. Cold, Ritual, Peterbot now playing almost intentional low ground here for eliminations. This is the difference between kind of those group stages and finals, right? It's not about winning. Now it's about getting points here.
Yeah, that consistency, the eliminations, 4 points per, one win with 10 eliminations, Monsters, over a 100-point game. But Kanata, Rapid Bolts, we saw them getting pushed by Dash and Bryce. That was high ground team, and they said, you know what, you want this layer? You can have it. They immediately built up with the little builds that they did have left. Everybody's probably in a similar situation when it comes to material count, and they're using their eye in the sky to their advantage, going ahead and shooting down on the team. But Acorn, Pollo, Agers, exactly that. They're contesting for the high ground, and they haven't fought through the same amount of chaos as every other team, so that might be theirs to keep.
Oh yeah, look at how quickly Kanata folded his hand of cards there. Nope, you guys can have it. Pollo, Agers, Acorn head their way straight to the top. And listen, high ground might win games, but low ground wins tournaments. Ritual, Peterbot, and Cold are still in this one right now, racking up the eliminations down here, and it seems to be that they have full control. Clix is down and out. Higgs and Yamzo are the last two left alive. Yamzo playing deep side of the storm here. Kind of swings around, finds Bolt, shuts him down. 2 more elims sent to the Yamzo's pocket here. And things are now starting to look very favorable for him.
Yeah, every team in this lobby, but maybe 2, are in shambles, are missing at least one player or a big chunk of health. But Peterbot still continues to set his eyes in the sky. He had the shockwave pistol, but it goes down. Cold is doing his heal off towards the back. Pollo, Agers, and Acorn in game number 1, uncontested at Demon's Domain, are in the driver's seat looking to close this one out. But Cold falls as well. All the pressure on the Ritual. He folds like a lawn chair.
Top 5 for the teams that we expect to win this weekend's tournament here. This grand finals is just starting to heat up. Yamzo gets a little siphon here delivered to him. Pollo still in the game here, healthy as ever. Acorn alongside him. Yamzo just a wild factor here. Now kind of setting things up. He's got a misform to go ahead and play with. Trying to see if he's got a win condition before him, but no, he doesn't. Instead, has to go ahead and take the fights here. Shots coming in from up top, though. Too much pressure. Has to misform around the outskirts here. Jacob is starting to get interesting. Decisions to go up might just happen here.
Yeah, he has no extra heals, so he knows he can't play the backside of the zone unless he gets an elimination or a down. Jojo Fishy on one side. Visual's trying to break their way through. They're getting stuck. They're getting smushed to the outside of the zone. HP is going down. The Storm is doing a lot of the work as Yamso is trying to steal that one away, but he gets taken. Jojo Fishy gets it in the nick of time. The Siphon is now coming into play. High ground is diving down, but Acorn falls to Visuals. Nobody here is a full trio. That gives anybody a fighting chance, but nah. Not in Ager's house. He ends that run rather quickly. Forces outside of the zone for Braids to play that heal off, and he only has a med kit and possibly some Storm Sickness on top. Timing is going to be crucial as Braids is trying to make that last-ditch effort into the zone, but he's in a 1v2, and Agers put that final nail in the coffin. A 10 elimination game number 1 for the Major 1 champs.
When they took height, they only had 3, and all of a sudden, that end game came boiling down pretty quickly. Talk about a game that heated up. That was incredible action. You know, I could put a ribbon on the tournament and be pretty happy with the action we saw just in game number 1 there, Jacob. Talk about exciting.
Yeah, we saw throughout the game. We saw Yamzo look up, couldn't get height. We saw Kanata go up there, challenge it, take it from Dash. And then at the end, they waited for that perfect moment. You almost got to give all the credit to Acorn, the IGL, even though he did go down here, making it a little bit close. But he was the one that probably made that perfect call that turned their game around and eventually turned it into this. The 2v1 Braids, even with all the builds in the world, did not stand a chance against Agers and Pollo. The Major 1 champions strike first in game number 1. Zeke, what are your thoughts?
That's it. Tournament's over. Pollo's better than Peterbot. There I said, okay, see you guys in Globals. See you guys there. Bye.
Hi, Zeke.
Wow. I cannot believe this just transpired, right? A hectic game, to say the least. And it's crazy that I feel like every time we look at like a different trio, it's like, oh, hey, them. No, it's them. It's them. It's them. They're on height. What is going on? So much chaotic, so many chaotic things transpiring in this game. But at the end, Pollo and Agers managed to just stay together, right? Say, hey, look, we've been here before. We just need to stay calm, cool, collected. And they start the day with a VR with 10 eliminations. Kelly, that's too much. Whoa. Whoa.
It's such a good start. And honestly, it's Pollo, Agers, and Acorn that bring it every single time. And Jacob was talking about it. You saw all these different trios, all these players looking up for height, trying to take height. But it's Pollo, Agers, and Acorn that can literally be down, like, you know, just to 14 builds on the mid ground and somehow convert that into a strong height take. Pollo's ability with that mythic AR is just so dirty, so disgusting. He can just just get eliminations from the low ground that are just everyone is so distracted by what's going on. Agers, Acorn, and Pollo play that end game perfectly.
I mean, MDF made the call, right? The end game was absolutely stacked, talking about how all of the trios that we kind of expected to win this weekend, they were all kind of found in the end game at one point, and then not to mention also teams that are qualified to the Global Championship with Braids, Visuals, and a minute in the mix right there as well. What a statement, though, from Acorn, Pollo, and Agers. I mean, complete dominance, right? It looked like the high ground was all but Kanadas, but the Big Boys going head-to-head up there for the win. Incredible stuff.
So many things happened in that game. So many things to break down. So much nuance. But first, a short break. When we return, we'll dive into some of what we saw at game number 1 and start preparing ourselves for game number 2. Welcome back, everyone, to the FNCS. I almost danced, but I stopped myself. All right, welcome back. Game number 1. I cannot believe it. Pollo, Acorn, Agers get themselves a victory royale. It was insane. 10 eliminations as well. But there's other things that kind of developed in that last game. We wanted to highlight here Clixy, Amzo, and Higgs. What was crazy about that is the fact that Zoe had to kind of solo clutch there toward the end game. And I mean, I feel like every time I feel like I see Zoe doing this in the end game, he's always, especially when he's solo, he's always clutching like this, right? I don't know that I've ever seen a situation where it's just him and it's like, oh, we're gonna see something. Oh, he's eliminated. It's always like, bro, how is he in top 5? Like, what is he doing?
You know, it's we talked about this at the start of the show, that if this trio could just make it, all of them alive at the very end, that victory royale is within their grasp. But so many times we see them make it down to either a solo or a duo. But honestly, if there's anyone that's going to be a solo clutch, you want it to be Yamzo. He's so smart and he's so fast with these plays, and that's part of the reason why we see them currently in 6th place right now. Obviously not the best place that they want to be. They did get a 4th place finish there, but you know, 5 more games to go for today, 6 more games to go for tomorrow. Clix, Higgs, and Yamzo. This is just the start of their competition.
I mean, this game was just the return, right, to Yamzo. This is exactly what we saw in Major number 2. The solo clutches is what actually kept them in contention out of Yamzo to actually win the NVNCS. Of course, we all know they got second by just a couple points, and the difference was absolutely crazy. But Yamzo, the solo clutches during that Major are kind of what made it so close. And, you know, listen, you know, XSET kind of put out this piece earlier this month, or a couple of weeks ago, whenever it was, you know, Higgs was like, hey, listen, you know, is Clix the best teammate you've ever played with? And he was like, no, Yamzo is. And we are kind of seeing why he believes that right now, because Yamzo just will always put on a show, even if he's the last one alive on the trio.
Dude, it's so difficult, right? Just think about how much pressure is on, like, in that situation, in grand finals. And it's just like, he's just bobbing and weaving, changing layers, finding elims, making it the top 5. Crazy stuff. Let's also talk about Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual in this game. So they're still uncontested, right? That's great. We kind of figured that would happen, and that's great. I love this positioning from the trio, though, right? Being in that front low, they just have all of this free, like, everyone that's trying to backside rotate, it's just free pickings, right?
Yeah, especially when you can see that they were a little bit low on mass right there. So while everyone else is kind of peeking high ground and kind of fighting for it, they're able to stay kind of in the back of zone, actually towards the side a little bit, where everyone else likes to stay in the front. They're able to kind of get these angles on all these players and grab elim after elim and refresh after refresh, which is what they desperately needed in this end game right now. Cold, Ritual, and Peterbot did such a good job on the low ground, and to have 2 exotics onto Peterbot has to be a crime. Vivid, that's just so sick.
I mean, yeah, this trio looked like they were actually going to win it. Like, I loved the position they found themselves in the mid ground. Like Z kind of mentioned, they were able to just look back towards everybody kind of rotating in, pick up so many refreshes. I was like, wow, this looks really good for the trio. 30 seconds go by, we come back. Peterbot has no shield, but he's looking up at a high ground right, lands that pistol shot up there, knocks 2 people off black ground. Oh my gosh, they can go for high ground. But it's like, no, the tunnel vision kind of happened very quickly. They became those teams that were kind of rotated in and forgot that teams could be looking back at them, which is where we saw JoJo actually take out Peterbot right there. And then from there, right, the trio kind of fell apart there on out. But yeah, I mean, I still like how the trio is kind of playing, right? Kind of playing off of their eliminations and then looking towards the high ground. Love that game plan.
Dude, you know what I love? Aoxy, Jojo Fishy, Pikes. These guys got themselves a victory out in group number 3, right? I was actually asking, like, when was the last time we saw these guys? It was just group 3. It was not that long ago, but they insta got a victory out, and now here we are in grands. They pull off a 3rd place, 11 eliminations in game number 1. This is quality Fortnite, ladies and gentlemen.
They were just, I wish we got to watch a little bit more of them, because on the low ground, Aoxy getting 6 eliminations. JoJo, I thought that it was over for him once he went down to a solo player, but elim after elim, he was not slowing down. This is what I want to see out of this trio, and hopefully they bring more as the games go on.
Yeah, I mean, big game from this trio. Big game from JoJo Fishy specifically, right? Making sure to kind of play the heal up, play the meds right there, and then jump back in the mix, pick up a couple more placements, a couple more elims right there. Well played.
I'm ready for more Fortnite action. Game number 2 is upon us. So casters, over to you.
Game number 1, Monster, was already so exciting. It has me at the edge of my seat. And looking at the leaderboard, I didn't expect eliminations to play such a crucial role this early.
Yeah, who would have thought it, really pick up as fast as it did? And you said it best. This is why you don't push early knocks. Even if you feel really confident, it's very clear that one mistake and your entire game plan can go downhill, and that's what's so dangerous about that northern side of the map. So let's jump in the battle bus one more time for game number 2. Here we go, Jacob. Game 2 is here. Game 1, talk about a just incredible showcasing of NA's best talent in the action, right? It's what we thought we'd be showing up to kind of view this weekend, but I think it went better than we all expected.
Nah, it did. The excitement levels are through the roofs, and honestly, that puts some of these teams on notice. You know, Reed Cooper Curly being one of them, that there is no room for mistakes, because I talked about the point differential for Major 1, Major 2, less than 15 points for both of those majors. It's gonna come down to the wire if things do continue in this trend. But a contested fight we didn't necessarily get to see too much of last game. Liam's gonna go down first. It is towards the outskirts, towards the right side of Shogun Solitude, left side of Demon's Domain, full south on the map, and they're able to clean up not one, both of those eliminations already for Gary, Aimred, and their trio.
Yeah, fast start for Aimred here. Madden's got big decisions to make. Just a single build, tries to find an exit strategy, but doesn't seem like he was quite successful. But in a second, might be baiting them. The information there, that ramp, saying, oh, he went this way. Yeah, right. It's just behind this wall right now. You think it's gonna work?
I want to say yes. Let's just go ahead and say yes. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. It's just too sneaky right there. I think the biggest downfall is going to be if he tries to move, because this actual spot right here, Monster, doesn't have the most loot. If they want to continue for Gary, Aimred, and Angel to loot up, continue with the rest of their game, and actually have a good game, well, they're going to have to go elsewhere, but they return back. They see him at the tail end, and that's the full trio out of the game.
Yeah, the math wasn't math, and they were like, hey, buddy, you couldn't have gone that far. And Madden V ends up getting found out. Well, great start for Aimred. Little trio elimination there. Muzz, Sphinx, and Shadow clearly seem to be the stronger duo here at the Resistance base out the gate this time. Bryce's team giving them a little bit more respect, right? Skittles and Dash saying, hey, let's just play the outskirts here. We don't necessarily want to clash too early. And they're going to go ahead and probably take their odds up against Reach Trio here later with the outskirts rotate. But Shadow, Sphinx, and Muzz seem pretty adamant on inching their way towards them, like force a fight almost.
Yeah, you saw that mark on the minimap, though. They know exactly where they went. They're rotated towards the north, and they're going to go back on over towards the east if they do want. There's a lot of loot over there. East of Resistance, west of Flooded. There's also a Slurp Chuck if they don't have the shields that they want, or just want to save some more. Another uncontested fight. We saw it in game one. Pollo, Acorn, and Agers. They win that game, and in that game number one, Agers put up 1,744 damage, the most assist in the game as well. Even though he booked that final elimination, it's just going to show how flexible all these players are.
Oh yeah, putting in the work right there. And you know, Acorn's biggest fear is shutting down Peterbot early, right? Like, you really don't want them to have too much momentum in that last game. Seemed like, I mean, they were setting themselves up for a crash course to a victory, but yeah, things just went south. So Acorn's team, if nothing else, is one of the most consistent when it comes down to it. Bolts, Kanata, and Rapid also having a fairly, you know, great start to their tournament. Remember, they're just playing for a global championship position at this point, right? They have a lot more on the line here than some of the other teams.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's Kelly, Vivid, Zeke that were talking about it, you know, last week during group stages with Kanata and his perfect record, 27 FNCS Grand Finals appearance. Well, celebrating that's going to be short-lived because he's fighting this weekend for number 28, that global championship spot to remain the only perfect player to qualify for them all is Liam, Neko, and Zabi. They get that first down onto one, and it looks like they are going to go back-to-back, getting 2 of the 3 eliminations off spawn at the first order.
Repeat of game number one, this time a little faster than before. Back to Kanata, Bolts, and Rapid, though. Putting big pressure on that trio that they were tagging up originally. Seems like that first elimination might be giving them the confidence going to take the fight. We saw before, this is where mistakes can happen, though. You start to deviate away from your original plan, but it seems like this is very much in Rapid and Bolts' favor here to go ahead and initiate this off the Peterbot, but Aaron's got that side angle here, so they have to wait for Kanata. Yamzo, Clix, and Higgs doing the same exact thing, finding themselves an elimination on the outskirts and then collapsing in to get the full finish.
Yeah, you're seeing the zone just kind of dictating a little bit of their game plan. Last game, it was towards the north. They played it slow, stayed towards Supernova, and just kind of played for that surge. This time around, it pulls towards the south. They knew not too many teams were going to float around their spot. Isolated fight, they take it. Kind of the same thing happening over here, but they are going to be in zone. They're fighting for that Spire loot that you saw in the distance. Fred, Aaron, and Caliper, they were the ones that kind of claimed it for themselves, or at least as most of it as they could, because Bolts and Rapid immediately pushed over to try to disrupt as much of that play as possible.
Yeah, I will say that's one thing that is almost underappreciated is how much preparation some of these top trios will put into any scenario with those early game zones, right? They really will determine what strategy they put into effect. These are not decisions made on a whim. These are very much calculated routes that have been almost methodically planned out. And for Clix to, kind of showcase that, I just love to see it. But jumping with G-Money, Aviv, and Rise, we didn't really get to see too much of them early in the last game. Just seems like they had a bit of a slower start, if you will. But one thing's for sure, they're definitely catching good ranks this time. Spire's kind of spawning here in their drop, so Outpost Enclave treating them very well.
Yeah, not only the Spire landing over here this time around, we are going to see a huge upgrade. It is going to be the Outlaw Yoink shotgun that we saw Peterbot using in that last game, but the zone is also favoring in this direction. That's going to give them a little bit more flexibility. They're going to have priority on some of those rotations. The only team they just got to be careful for is Ager's Acorn and Pollo, and this is the perfect counter to all those surge bases. P8's in.
Look at him
catching
go.
Chimp off guard. And there's another one. He's trying to slide down as quick as possible. Nah. Just seen that trick. Goes down the mountain. They have the launch pad. The choice is right here from the Brazilian Kings to just try to chase down another elimination if they so choose.
I love this. They're like, oh, you want to just chill in a big base? All right, buddy. We're sending you crashing. And this is why they are the most devious team in the lobby. This is the team that you just don't know what they have in store for you. Showing up here on the region, putting their own 2 cents into the entire mix here, and really keeping everyone on their toes. What a clash is going down right here, though, from Muzz, Sphinx, and Shadow against a full trio. And you got, like, King Phaser now seeing this all go down here from the distance. They might just end up showing up.
Yeah, and you got to remember, Reet and them rotated out of this position as well, so probably everybody lifting their left saying, good, easy surge, no risk. They're fighting in the distance, and no matter who wins that fight has to continue to rotate in us. This is what I'm wanting out of this position. I think Mud, Sphinx, and Shadow and their counterparts of Scuffy, Monty, and Core realize what's going down here. They cannot continue to play this because it's too much of a risk. Both teams choosing to disengage 2 different directions, play this one out because this zone continues to pull towards the south. It just makes it more and more of a dangerous position to keep yourself in.
That's the caliber of just accuracy right there. We'll play some Muzz, putting that big tag there to kind of open up, release the pressure. This is another look from PH Zin, the chop down. Go ahead and find Chimp. Sinetto sitting Cam on the other side here. Just 8 points earned in game number 1, so a lot of time to make up for here.
I love how players find tricks like that. They find so many nifty tricks, and that one's more known, but if you guys are wondering, if you dash into the launch pad, it kind of launches you forward, gives you the launch pad effect. You can open up the parachute, and you don't go as high, which means you're not as easy of a target. As you see some of these geysers being used, but they're going for alert play right now, sir. Taki, Ishao, and Vert, Seek, Donnie, and Joji, both teams kind of going at it, but one of them's kind of preoccupied with getting Surge across the map. We literally just saw this from King Phaser and PH Zin.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they seem pretty distracted right now. And I mean, I feel like if you're the team playing Lurk on teams at these Surge bases, you have a huge advantage to catch players kind of out of position here, but I think they make a little bit of a mistake here not to jump on them when there was just 2 in the base, but they're gonna be content to kind of hold it down. I think they're almost giving the soft signal, say, hey, look, we didn't get the elim. You guys can move on, don't worry. We don't want no beef here. It's all good. And they're resetting their HP pools now.
That was an accident, man. We didn't mean it. Just keep on going. And this is the thing right here, because you saw the zone pull far to the south yet again. There's a geyser. You could double geyser, cover distance, but neither team has a chance to use it. Osid says, let me go for the high ground. They're not going to leave. Let me try to push them out. But it's also being a risky situation, because if they don't go ahead and try to disengage, they're going to stay and fight you. And the longer you are in zone, I said it for game number 1, it's going to happen here again in game number 2. That chances of winning the heal off goes out the window.
Interesting. They're forced to med miss here because Cam couldn't find any excess heals, possibly left behind by Vert's trio there. And that's going to be one big key med miss down. Here comes the redash. Just go ahead and get ready. Donnie's team now had more than enough time to kind of situate, rotate out ahead. They'll be the ones putting up the resistance. Muzz, Sphinx, and Shadow here at the resistance base. Kind of finishing things up this time onto Skittles, Dash, and Bryce here. And Bryce trying to hide, but they ultimately will end up getting racked up onto the point threshold. Aoxy, Pikes, and JoJo leading the elimination counts, though, and continuing to do so here. That's the momentum kind of in the sails here for our Group 3 stage. Kind of Game 1 winners. Could be their season.
Hey, it could be 11 eliminations, third place, second place on the leaderboard after placing third. Kind of beating out straight through eliminations, and now we're kind of getting a taste of how they're actually getting the job done. It's these early game fights. This one might be a little bit more risky. Remember, game 1 pulled north, and you see 3 teams in this location, even at fourth, all of them lurking slowly up the side of the mountain. It's not going to be as easy to chop down as a surge base before, but they're just kind of hoping one of these teams disengages, drops down, tries to leave, and they run into them.
Game 2 feels a little different, though. It seems like teams have almost threw the bases out the window and said, no, we've had enough of that. And they've almost changed their strategies to those that have kind of based up in the general area. Cyclops, VLS, and Ace Cube still forced on the defensive. Starting to gas out here. Just a couple more 100 material counts left here. Meanwhile, Calipper, Fred, Aaron inching their way up to the top, likely to try to clean up the fight as it resolves here in the coming moments.
They got to be careful. They're getting lurked on at the bottom of the mountain as well. The lurkers are being lurked. 2 teams fighting up above. One of them actually disengaged. Cyclops, Bleaks, and Cube. Eoxy gets shot at by the third party, so he's going to have to rethink that situation, and that causes a little bit of commotion underneath, because now that lurking team's position has been revealed, and with one team disengaging, that gives an opportunity for another 3v3 to go down at the top of the mountain.
Yeah, JoJo's team's now officially downloading that information there. Aaron seems to have been cracked by the team in the distance that they were trying to lurk up, and they almost seem forced to take this fight here. I have to assume they haven't really gotten a chance to get big damage in. JoJo finds Fred there. Fresh builds. I'm surprised they didn't just go for it. Saw a little bit of hesitation there, as likely the team's trying to decide, what are we going to do here? Take the fight, play it slow.
Narrowly missing that opportunity thanks to the dashes, but JoJo takes one of his own. 3 HP elimination. He kind of needs it for the Siphon, but he's getting tossed, turned, flipped upside down for a moment before he actually gets knocked, but 1 HP. Aaron's trying to live on a prayer, but Pikes, Aoxy, they know how much damage is there. They're trying to continue to go through these builds and try to finish this one up. I think it is a 2v1. The other one did get knocked out. Caliper's going to have to fight this 2v1 the best that he can, but they're just going to drop down low, realizing, hey, we have a 3v1 advantage. If we force this res, we're forcing him in a position to either res, we keep the 3v2, or fight us in a 2v1.
And they do get the double pickup, so they'll be 2 times as fast here, right onto the wall. No, he had to cancel it, but Calipper finds a monster retag, and then a follow-up. The Siphon comes through. That's the finish onto Aoxy and Pikes there. How did this all just unfold so quickly? Now it's all up to JoJo. Clearly, JoJo was fired up, though. He's the one who initiated that opening elimination here. Double res on both sides. Talk about a full reset. Well played for Calipper. You got to give him super props for that.
Yeah, this just does not get any easier for JoJo Fishy. They need to figure out a way to swap some ammo. He has 2 shots left in his Sentinel. You got to make sure those shots count if you're not going to go ahead and re-up with your teammates, as he's looking all around the side of the mountain. Information, anybody else lurking around, because that was what just happened to them with Aaron and Caliper sneaking up on the side of the mountain. Now they're being extra careful. 2 builds left, though. All this investment to take this early game fight did not turn out how they hoped.
You know, I'm thinking that right now pressure setting in as well, right? Reality saying, hey, wait a second. We're almost 100 points in the tournament. There's no way we drop game number 2 right now. We just got to get this reboot going. We've gotten damage. We've done enough here. We actually don't need this fight.
And luckily for them, Aaron Caliper getting distracted by a whole nother team trying to rotate in from the side of the mountain. Cannons Crossing, Shogun Solitude. That's going to be Causers, Scare, and I think Magma on the other side. And they know, they just saw that team up there. They were hoping they already rotated out, but it is in zone. And just the hard part for both of these teams, Aaron Caliper and JoJo Fishy down below and his duo, is how are you not only going to get your teammate back up, but get the resources you need, because this whole side of the map is going to be stacked with teams taking those mountain ranges.
You can see it. 172 and then 131. Wow. Just straight perfect shots by Caliper to keep him in the game. Masterfully done for them. Way to really fight your way through here. The final stage. That's just proof that teams deserve to be here. Monty, Scuffy's, and Coldo. Little cancel on the reboot there as they kind of wait things out. Another team floating nearby. Seems like they're the first to claim this reboot here, so should just be a couple moments before they'll get a chance to go and play this pickup. Peterbot and Cole's team on the move right now. A lot of action here.
Yeah, you can kind of see where they're rotating from. Their initial drop spot of Brutal. And that's the thing about Brutal is you do not have to move early on in the game. It's relatively center, so even if it does pull south, you can kind of get served and all the teams rotating in as they find that open opportunity onto Gray, get the down, and immediately beeline it over. Preston takes some damage, and that gives them a little bit more information as they pick up that second elimination. That was only 2 players on that trio live, so they're all sent back to the lobby to watch and figure out what just happened.
Talk about like material count they much needed. That's a full kind of pickup for this team. Early refresh right there to really give them momentum to keep pushing here and now. And this time they have a lot more damage. Last time we were here in this setting, they had about just 100 above, so things for sure going in their favor here and now. I'm curious though, last game we saw by the time zone 6 and 7 came around, teams were getting affected by storm sickness, right? You can't underestimate the storm this kind of late into the tournament stages. You really have to start finding your way to safety.
Okay, I would be lying if I didn't say my jaw just dropped seeing them 499 below the damage threshold. I'm not sure what has been going on with this team, but they're almost 3 eliminations down when it comes to Storm Surge, and they are on the clock because it's going to start to activate 25 damage every 7 seconds. That's why they're pushing now, because they know timing is of the essence. Break it down onto 1. They do have the side angle from multiple, and that's Taki, Isho, and Bert on the other side. As Cam tries to go in, gets the knock, comes at a sacrifice, but he does get the Siphon to clean that one up. His teammate Soneto falls on the other side, so it still is going to be a 2v1, but they trade that one away as they take down Taki as well. 2v1 situation, they're immediately going for the double res, but it's the same mistake that cost them as Bert sneaks around, gets the elimination and the Siphon, bringing it to a 1v1.
You thought he left? No, he was hiding under the base. And Sid may have actually did enough to at least end the surge dump number there, right? He got the elim, go ahead and cancel it for the whole lobby, but my gosh, the pain has already been taken into account here. Vert does not want to mess around with that 2-tick zone right there. That's going to be big damage. Look at the play here. Doesn't even allow him to get the elim. Almost gets the full finish as well. And it's the Siphon that keeps him in the game. What a huge set of eliminations. That's going to be his 4th one for them. A lot of points there. At least it's not a zero-sum game 2 here, but as far as how far they can make it here, Jacob, that's going to be a hard ask. This is quite the end zone, though. Look at this mountainous terrain here. This is going to be absolute chaos here.
Yeah, for the sake of the lobby, I'm pretty sure they're hoping it figures out a way to go south, kind of normalize out the terrain as balanced as possible. For me, Monster, let's go north. Let's go ahead and buckle up for what could be a wild roller coaster ride of emotions up and down the side of the mountains. And you mentioned that situation earlier on, and it's just going to be drastic because you saw how many teams were up the south side of Demon's Domain. That's where the reboot is at. We're already in the 6-7 zone. That HP will be chunked out by the zone if you do not have the heals, so it's a huge risk versus reward scenario if any of those teams on that side of the map are trying to get their teammates back.
Yeah, and all this elevation, you'll be pretty much loading in right there, center line, into the line of fire, if you will. So this is all just types of sketchy situation unfolding here. Threats, Bugha, Craze fighting for a global spot right now. So far, so good. 72 points coming into game number 2. Tournament off to a hot start here. In the distance, see players like G Money just barely holding on. Reet and Curly kind of survived that last storm surge. Seemed like there's just them two standing. Acorn, Pollo, and Agers, though, are going to be the kings of the hill. Sitting very much strongly at the top. And then the zone pull. Okay, buddy. Things are just lining up here for them.
The script is certainly scripting today, and this is the JoJo Fishy fight earlier on in the game. This is the same build fight that they had here. Pollo, Acorn, Age was taking full advantage of a monument that was placed before them. Up on top, zone pull, multiple teams having to come from that edge of the mountain as well, from bottom up to the top. They literally have the best view in the house. Cooper, Reek, and Curly might not be as lucky. They are close to the zone, but you see how stacked up is that eastern edge overall.
Yeah, I wonder if Clix's team even knew that they were there. No, they didn't. But Cooper, Reek, Curly, catch one. He seems to have slipped out there. Okay, I was holding my breath for a second, like, wait, Clix or Yamzo might actually fall here, but it seems to have gotten out of that sticky situation. Reek, Cooper, and Curly are pretty desperate, though. They need a little more damage. They know they're pretty much the next team over from falling under.
4 of our global championship qualified teams are on this side of the mountain right now. Gary gets down by Reek. Kind of gets taken by his teammates, though, but that's not going to stop them. 3v2, they're just going to bulldoze their way through that cover. Aimred's going to be by himself. I'm not sure how much luck he's going to have getting out of this situation, but disaster strikes again. Curly, Cooper, both of them go down, and the pressure is all on to King Reek.
Yeah, it's Clix and Yamzo. They end up getting that side angle there once they pushed in. They were on the layer. And look at that. They pretty desperate for the builds here, so they're almost going to be forced to probably pick this up here. Yamzo seems to have been the one who, jumped into things, but they'll have to potentially split some mats, so they're not in the best scenario for an endgame that's going up and over a mountain by any means. Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold, on the other hand, seem to be very much comfortable. Things are going to pull back west. Yeah, so it's going straight over these kind of elevated section here. Take a look at the highlight. They kick things off. Aim red found by Peterbot and Ritual there, healing through the builds. And look who doesn't have to move at all. Acorn, Agers, Pollo, so far above the damage kind of threshold that they need to be at. And again, the zone has pulled favorably for them this far, so they'll be the last to rotate next.
Yeah, it does go down the side of the mountain, but exactly that. They can just take their time, watch every team position themselves in front, and just kind of continue to maintain their position above, because they're just going to land right on top and build up yet again. Clix, Higgs, and Yamzo, they're alive. 5 eliminations, 86 points, and above the damage threshold, but they need an elimination, whether they're getting the siphon or any of those resources. Reek was able to get one towards the backside of the zone, but that heals are only going to last for so long, because he has to find his way in now or never for Reek.
Still holding on here, but he's in the zone. Damage starting to add up. Pollo forced to kind of give it up here. Double dash to get across. It's Acorn, Pollo, and Ager set up for high ground, but they know best. This is definitely risky, right, to hold height this early, even into the end game. Although they've been gifted, they will have to stay on their toes if they want to pull a back-to-back victory royale. But one thing's for certain, a top 10 should be very much in the conversation, in the books here. Look at Crazy Threats, though, making their way across this awkward terrain here. Try to stay out of the line of sight, out of the action. And this is just beautiful zone reads, great rotates here. Take notes, guys. This is how you do it.
And in theory, they might be able to get priority on that slow side of the zone, but Huga's kind of damaged up, forced to dash around. Peterbot holding another team outside of the zone. He's going to get one onto O-Zone. That brings their total eliminations to 6, over the 100-point thresh mark. No extra heals in his inventory, Monster, though. And you can see Cold, no misform. He's going to be stuck with the dashes. That's all that's left over as they get to the front side of the zone. Now is their time to start popping off, because they have to start accumulating the points, keeping it consistent, and keep it at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. They're choosing a day one strategy to just play ultimate load, find eliminations. I wouldn't put it past them if day 2 is going to be high ground day. Just come out the gate looking for big victories, but we're still early in the tournament setting right here. For some, it's just about getting your groove, playing it how it kind of comes here. But Peterbot and Ritual can play any situation. You just give them a chance to, and look at that. Find themselves a nice little chug jug as well. That's going to be very much welcome, given that they don't have heals here. Ultimate low ground, though, they have full control here. Things are going to be bouncing back towards the canyons, crossing down and over. And look, no one here has a lot of mats. This is why you don't see anyone contesting any kind of mid-ground layer. It's all very much low-level gameplay here.
Yeah, exactly that. And no one's even looking up to kind of contest high ground because they don't have the resources, even if it does look free to take. Agers, Acorn, Pollo, they've been conserving all of their material zone after zone up until this point, but it continues to move over towards that bridge. King's in a tough spot. 2 of his teammates went down right before his very eyes. He's using the misform to reposition, but it was Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold that did the damage to Team Brazil.
And they find King here now as well, putting in a little bit more pressure. Cold's going to go ahead and trust in Ritual to go ahead and clean that one up. Ager's going to be the one who finds the elimination. Peterbot finally starts to turn to high ground now. Pollo comes down, try to put that extra pressure in, and just note how fast Pollo was to attack right there. pulling out the fangs here. Clix, though, getting active. Med misplay, love to see it here. G-Money just trying to stay alive here. Aviv looking for a side angle, too, but nothing's going to come and be available. Instead, it's Cold who snipes that elimination. Another one for Cold, Peterbot and Ritual here.
Yep, 30 on that Jug. He knows it's not a lot, but it could be just enough. He even finds one more use onto that misform, but shots coming from the side, so he has no choice but to move forward. That's Higgs, that's Clix, that's in his warpath as he continues to fire down, but turn around rapid. He was able to get that first down. Bolts is able to get two. Peterbot, Cold have just been dismantled, leaving Ritual by himself, but he's able to get a spot in his own as he runs out of mats.
Clix is gonna fall there as well. He tries to play a med kit play in the zone. It's Bolts who's last standing here. Mess kind of misforms around the side. Higgs is still standing as well. Fourth place now, sees Ritual here. Tries to go for a big one, finds a tag, but he has to get the finish here. This is all or nothing. The first whip, but the follow-up was good. Pollo, Agers, and Acorn are here to stay, though. Looking for the second victory royale now, Jacob. Talk about back-to-back monster games, a 10 Elin dub, as they do it again.
That is exactly it. You know, you're not watching a rerun. 10 elims in back-to-back games. 105 points again over that 100-point mark. They've scored more points in these two games alone than any other team probably has combined. And that just shows how dangerous they actually are. That just shows how practiced they actually are. And it just goes to show that you cannot leave a team like this uncontested.
And this is why they are so scary as a team. One of the most consistent trios to ever do it. I mean, Acorn surprises us time and time again. And then you just have Agers really earning his weight right here, fighting alongside Pollo. We can't say enough great things about this trio here, but to win 2 games in the grand finals, just to go in and kick it off, talk about a wonderful, wonderful performance. Agers, Acorn, and Pollo, they do it once again, Zeke. How do they do it?
You know, when we talk about consistency, this is the kind of consistency we dream about. Back-to-back victory royales, 10 eliminations. Guys, they are far ahead of everyone else. Oh my gosh. Guys, where do we even begin? We were sitting there watching this game, and it's like, in 7th zone, we're like, oh, look at that. They're above everyone. Oh, look at that. This zone pulls favorably for them. They don't have to spend any mats. They're just sitting on high ground on a mountain, 1,000 above Surge. And they have a medallion. I mean, Kelly, they had it all this game.
Yeah, I mean, from their start to getting Rift Island to this smart positioning of themselves around Zone 8 to build up the tower on the peak of the mountain. The zone pulls in their favor. They're able to control high ground. And Vivid at one point while we were watching was like, yeah, no one's going to even try and take high ground. There's just no shot. And no one did.
Yeah, I mean, obviously their position was really, really good. Coming off the mountain, you can establish high ground pretty easily with that. But it was like, yeah, right around that zone 7, zone 8 mark, the zone's kind of pulling up to that mountain and then going on the other side of it. It just made every single team that was not Acorn, Agers, and Pollo in complete shambles. I mean, everybody had to invest not only materials, but then all of their heals because they're getting shot in the back from all the other players rotating. Like, it just created such a mess amongst every other team because of how that zone pulled that I was like, yeah, nobody has the mat economy or the heal economy to even look up at the higher ground. And sure enough, Acorn, Agers, and Pollo kind of walk away with that one uncontested up on the high ground.
Oh man, and you gotta feel too like they knew that so early on, right? Like the moment that you start to go over the zone and we go like north, and it's like, oh, look at that, none of you guys have anything. You gotta walk up here and look at our big storm base. Like, oh my gosh, that was 2 games. Let it also be known we've not gotten a heal off 2 times in a row. Shout outs to NA. Let's keep that going. Wow, Pollo, Acorn, Agers, an extremely strong start out of here. Don't forget, they've already qualified. They're just playing for money. They're playing to make sure that we go to globals. Their drop spot is uncontested because that's what we're trying to accomplish here. My gosh, we're gonna go to a break, okay? Because I need to take a breather. When we come back, we'll break down more of what we saw out of that game. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Pollo really took that song very seriously. He went harder than harder goes and got 2 victory royales and 10 eliminations back to back in the first 2 game of grand finals. I'm still in shock, but it's fine. It's cool. Zeke will recover eventually. Let's talk about some other trios that performed crazy good in this last game. Clix, Higgs, Andy, Amzo. Higgs, what are you doing, bro? A solo clutch out of this last game. 10 elims from the trio. 2nd place? What is going on, Kelly?
I mean, if you have watched this trio over the last few weeks, you would not be surprised to see Higgs being able to clutch out this solo ability. He's done it so many times, but honestly, what we've seen out of him specifically over the last season, he has just had so much growth. There was a lot of questions as to if he was locked in. There was a few times where he just wasn't ready, wasn't queuing up for tournaments, but he has turned that around. We have seen him just download the game to a T, and he is now showing what his ability can be once he's locked into the game.
This is one of those games where it's like, okay, this is going to be an unfortunate one for them. They're stuck on the side of this mountain. We started to look at Clix. He had literally 0 builds at one point. I was like, oh man, they're going to fall down the leaderboard after this game. And then there they are in the end game somehow. I mean, just incredible stuff. That's what champions are made of, right? That's why they play so well in some of these FNCSs, because they can make the most out of games where it seems like they shouldn't be able to.
It's just so impressive, dude. I don't even know. We also had Peterbot there in 3rd place, right behind Clix, Higgs, and Yamzo. 4th place, 9 eliminations from them as well. Dude, I just in the fact that we're still in zone in 5th zone, right? We're sitting on the front side of the zone. Had that pulled differently, this would have been a completely different story. But the fact that it doesn't, these guys just know how to operate. The moment that some new information is presented, hey, here's a new zone pool, hey, there's 2 different trios in this corner after you rotate out and they're all fighting here, hey, Peterbot, you wanted to shoot that guy really fast, go ahead and get an impact right here on the spot. I don't know how they just force the Fortnite RNG in their favor, Kelly, but they do it all the time.
They are so prepared as a trio for whatever situation the end game comes down to, but I almost wonder if it's to a fault where they are so confident in their playstyle that when they see another team on the low ground, they go for the aggression and then they miss out on other trios like Bolt's right there, being able to get the elimination onto Cold and Peterbot. I feel like the worst enemy to Peterbot is Peterbot himself. When his confidence allows him to think that no one else is going to be looking for them and no one else is going to be attacking them, that's when they tend to fall a little bit.
I've got to say, it's kind of crazy, right? We take a look at the big three of the region. Agers, Acorn, Pollo, obviously in first place after their two incredible games. Clix, Higgs, Yamzo, and Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual around 150 points. You know, after such two big games from Acorn, sure, you'd feel like they'd be further behind, but no, they're putting up incredible games by themselves as well, kind of staying in the contention. And there's just like this big gap from third to fourth and fifth, where we see Kanata, Rapid, and Bolts down there as well, and Bugha, Threats, and Craze. Both of those trios, by the way, we talked about, okay, they're going to qualify to the global championships throughout this weekend. But yeah, Kanata, Rapid, and Bolts, it's great to kind of see them make it into the end game throughout both of these, right? Obviously a big improvement this game with the third place and 4 eliminations.
Yeah, even with the loadouts being a little different than what we typically see from Kanata, Rapid, and Bolts, they're still able to handle this kind of low ground aggression. Bolts playing so smart on the low ground there, just making such great peaks, getting eliminations onto some pretty big names. And Bolts has just done such a good job. You know, we talk about players being locked in. I don't know if I've ever seen such a transition of Bolts from the start of this year to the end of this year out of any other player.
I'm so sorry. I'm laughing really hard here because we were told to talk about Rapid, Kanata, and Bolts, and they whispered into my ear, and Vivid picked it up instantly, started talking about it. And then Mickle literally said, "Wow, Vivid's the Peterbot of the broadcast," and I just lost it. Anyway, we got, you know, sometimes we break Zeke. It's fine. We're gonna go back to the action though. Game number 3 is ready for us. Casters, please help. Just go to you.
I gotta agree though with that statement. He is probably one of the best. Vivid, don't go anywhere. But this is game number 3, Monster. This is where things are starting to heat up. There's almost a 60-point lead over first and second place.
Yeah, you would think we're about 4 games into the tournament with how much Acorn has managed to pull through so far, but this is what you expect of that team. And you sit down, you look at the content that Acorn puts out when he starts to really think and dissect the way things work at a high-level competition. They have no doubt in their capabilities of taking home another championship. Well, it sounds
Game
like that
3.
game is ready, Jacob. Let's get on. All right, game 3, Jacob. That one came faster than we all expected. We're at the middle mark of the day. Things are heating up here. And, you know, again, let's talk about these teams that are in the running right now. It almost feels like it's really a conversation about the big 3.
No, it definitely is. And, you know, there was a stat at the beginning of game number 1 around their Peterbot most damage in finals, 5 straight majors in a row. Guess what? Number 1 and 2 after these games is both Agers and Pollo, but a fight that never stops. In game 1, these two clashed heads at the resistance space. In game 2, they chose to go 2 different directions, but in game 3, Muzz, Sphinx, and Shadow get off to a hot start. They win in seconds, and now they can play the rest of the game out like normal.
Definitely a big way to set things up, and it's just getting better and better. They are refining operations here at the base. On the other side, though, someone has now officially decided to show up and contest. We thought they might have been showing up before, but seems like they were saving that play for a little later into the tournament. And with how much of a lead they had, Agers though puts up a fight, but already now 2 sides are down. It's a 2v1 here for Acorn. Acorn hit up as well. He tries to slip out the side. Metmis comes down. He gets a little bit of a tick there for some HP, but he's got no builds to work with. This is not looking good, Jacob. Oh my gosh.
I feel like the whole lobby just got a sigh of relief. We were talking about the gap, the 60 points, the terror of back-to-back games. Well, that has come to an end here in game 3. For them, they have just reached the halfway point of day number 1. And now that they got a feel, they can talk about it. Roughly 25 or so minutes, Monster. They can figure out now that we're being contested, we can go back to what we practiced.
You know what's crazy too is like Acorn is known for like these day 2 big day tournament returns. Very rarely does he have a strong day 1 start, and I hope we're not seeing history repeat itself here when it comes down to that trend on average. But it's Zaire who kind of kicks this one off. You see the opening eliminations there, and then they'll finish up onto Acorn. What a huge momentum shutdown there.
Yeah, and you gotta imagine, if you see that in the feed, Monster, what does that do for you? How much confidence does that give you, whether you're Clix's team, Kanata's team, Peterbot's team? I feel like it kind of puts you on a whole nother level in terms of confidence.
Liam, Neko, team that obviously has been extremely confident time and time again. Very nice little kickoff there. He almost resets the fight there with elimination, baits him into the angle, but Jig Jr. coming through, finding elimination.
I don't remember who that third team was that initially landed here in the triple contest for game one, but I think they got the right kind of mindset. Even though this was our drop spot leading up to this, we planned for a triple con, and that side of the map, there's so many corners, so many places to hide, nooks and crannies, that I kind of agree with trying to change up that drop spot instead of hitting your head up against the wall over and over and over again. As Cold Ritual Peterbot uncontested at the Brutal Boxcars, and we're seeing how they set up. While one kind of farms up all the metal at the actual location down below, two people set up two different towers and start to fire off for Surge. Huh?
Demon's Domain heating up here, Jacob. I saw them on the map, you know, I wasn't too sure what was happening here with Zonda, Power, FN, and Blue. Like, if it wasn't Acorn's team, right, getting cleanly contested by Cyrus and Zyra, like, it probably would have been Zonda's team. It was like, hold up, what's going on over here at the Demon's Domain?
Kind of just slowly rotating. There's a third team there. Cyclops and them are also at Demon's Domain. 4 teams in game 3 trying to claim Demon's Domain. They want that medallion, the extra shields, the Mythic Spire. There's just so much you can get. And the freedom if you go and get that Foxy Flood game zone, if it does the island spawn over there, as the Amzo, Higgs, and Clix, they're getting more and more aggressive. Instead of setting up their surge bases on this side of the map, they saw how empty and open the space was. So they now realize they have to go back to their old normal strategy of fighting for their surge on the northeastern part of the map.
I mean, answer me this, Jacob. Do you think it's because, like, oh, we see Acorn's team get team wiped in the feed, let's make a move? Or is, like, the hit put out and everyone's like, yeah, we're coming here no matter what? Because, like, if that's going to be the trend of the evening, I mean, it's going to become harder and harder for Acorn's team to escape. Look at this.
How did we not initially see this? Where did the two other teams even come from in this fight? And the one that originally won it, Naps, got taken down by Vleeks, H-Cube, and Cyclops, forcing his team to disengage. Then you still got Power Blue and Zonda. And then what is this? Jojo, Aoxy, I don't see Pikes just yet, but a fifth trio at Demons?
Yeah, it seems like the bounty is up for this medallion here. Cyclops, Flex, and Ace Cube seem to be the kings of the hill right now. They've got things somewhat under control, but there's just so much happening here in the vicinity. It's almost like no one's got time to go ahead and get situated. Aoxy, Jojo, Pikes end up showing up. Clearly, they've been fired up. You know what they're doing in the early game, and they're likely, again, trying to fight just for what this drop spot has to offer.
And as someone who loves Fortnite, my only question is, who has the medallion at this point in time? We saw Naps go down. That was the original team, but did he have the medallion? Because his team did disengage. Good luck for them trying to get the reboot card back. Zonda gets third party on the high ground, forced all the way down below. He's going to get taken down by Yoxi. His teammate Power got taken down by Cyclops, so two different trios picking on one.
And Jojo holding down the other team as well. Shots coming in from the high ground. Vlex, H-Cube here just to go ahead and keep them almost pressured down from even supporting their teams. And Jojo's looking to clean this elimination up here, but seems like Blue's going to go ahead and fall to the other teams up top.
Found it, though. We know who has the medallion now. It's going to be Oxy, Jojo, and Pikes. And honestly, Monster, with how good they have been playing so far, I know it's only been 2 games, might be a little bit too early, but I feel like that's a huge boost in confidence. They could choose to either continue to fight towards Demon or kind of rotate out. They have some of the best loot in the game right now. Maybe they're just missing the Mythic Spire rifle, but hey, can't get too greedy in some situations, but it does look like they're going to continue to push towards the center.
On the other side, things a little bit kind of simmered down here in the distance. Visuals of Minish Breeds kind of watching the action unfold here. They're probably thinking, hey, what all happened to our usual setup. There's no one here to tag up. Players have almost collided into one another.
Hey, but that's a blessing. This is a blessing for Agers, Acorn, and Pollo to go down for Minish, Visuals, and Braids, because Agers, Acorn, and Pollo, we saw it all throughout the group stage. I believe Kelly broke it down like 4 out of the 5 games that they did play. They went for this island. They got that loot. The medallion was in Pollo's hands. And now that they're no longer there to contest it, Visuals, Braids, and Minish have a chance to really make something of this game. And we saw Reet in the feed early on. That one elimination was on the King, Phaser, or PH Zin. Don't know exactly which one, but they're finally getting struck back down. That's Cole. That's Monty. That's Scuffy's on the other side. They're able to kind of not only take down Pearly, but solidify the full elimination. And not only are they two fighting there's a third trio kind of lurking on the outside, waiting to get damaged when this fight settles.
Monty, Cole, Scuffy's just looking in. You know, I was looking at Reet's total points there as well. Just 21st place, so a lot of teams just struggling here as the time kind of begins to develop here game after game. We've seen so much action from them, but not enough end games here. You see Monty, Cole, and Scuffy's kind of sitting comfortably on that single elimination. They're pretty content right now. Take a look at the highlight, how it all went down. Finding a nice little angle there. Curly overwhelmed almost.
Almost got to creep too far into the Lion's Den, but almost a rematch from Major 2. That last and final game 12 was probably one of the best in history, the way these two teams went after each other. But it's only going to be a short-lived moment here in Major 3, where they initially kind of pounce on top of each other. Clix, Yamzo, Higgs get the Spire that kind of spawns over towards Brutal Boxcars, stolen away by Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual, landing over at this side of the map. Makes it risky for them to contest, so they're just going to go ahead and use that boost, fly towards Brutal Boxcars, but instead of stay and fight, Clix, Yamzo, Higgs are going to try to continue their rotation forward. Another zone here, Monster, where the zone is pulling towards the south.
How much respect they have for that trio. Peterbot just moves away like, yeah, we're not going to tail him this time. We're not pulling that Major 2 kind of, you know, bully ball like we tried to do last time, as they definitely learned their lesson in that last engagement. King, Phaser, and PH didn't know. Jacob, what are your thoughts on, you know, their capability to perform so far, given that they're inside the top 10?
I feel like they're a good team. Moving over regions just kind of exposes, I feel like, certain plans or certain, you know, flaws in their game plan overall. But with the short amount of time they've actually spent on Central, I feel like the rest of the lobby is lucky that they already have their global championship spot, because they are a threat to this lobby. They have all the potential. My only worry for them is consistency overall through 12 games. You got to realize it's a marathon. It's not a race, but they're able to get one down to the backside of zone. They're playing it very, very cautiously, calculated, smart on their way over to try to clean it up. They know as the zone continues to pull towards the south, not too many teams can third-party this.
Very confident here from PH Zin to just go ahead and go toe-to-toe before his team even shows up, but here they come. King here, healthy enough. Phaser, not so much, and third-party shots start to come in. This is where things start to go really bad for this team here. I'm thinking to myself, do they have a med miss or something here? As Phaser is kind of in a race against the clock here.
You know, it's funny you said med miss. I was thinking you were kind of referring to this here, the med miss smoke. And I'm like, oh yeah, the med miss is back into the game. You guys can find those at the med kit resource vending machines. And it's honestly a huge tool, because if you use it right, Monster, say me, you, and Levin are truing around. If you and Levin need it, both of you stand in front of me, I can actually heal both of you with the click. So you got to make sure to kind of dig deep into those bag of tricks of the past when it was around.
Not bad at all, given that we are almost in a eat zone type meta. Like, it's time and time again come these majors. But look at this setup right here from Kanata, Bolts, and Rapid. 106 points on the overall standing, so that puts them in 5th place coming into this last game here. They seem to call off the ambush up top. They're not really happy with the angle to push the team up there.
Even though they're not pushing up there, just by Bolts dropping those bigs, just kind of leads me to believe that they are going to stay positioned around Predator's Peak, that side of the map, kind of make just underneath their location. With the zone pulling towards the south like it has been, you know a lot of those teams to the north side of the map overall are going to have to rotate in and around Crime City. So I don't necessarily think it's the worst idea in the world, and even rapid planning ahead, building them a tarp, a path, just in case the zone does pull in that direction. They're relatively safe to the team position above.
Yeah, definitely thinking ahead there. Booga Craze threats now on the move here. 110 points. Just taking a little glimpse over at the Demon's Domain as they rotate through this area of the map here. Trying to see if there's anything good left for them to go ahead and pick apart. Teams already kind of marked out these old bases up in the distance, but they're in somewhat of a death valley. This is not really the place you want to be here. I think they know that too. Booga taking some serious damage here as well.
Uh-oh. Thought I saw Pikes going down to the team of Visuals, Braids, and a Minish. And the main reason why I see that as a little bit of importance, because that's medallion on medallion. If you're able to get the full wipe, one of those teams will be looted and ready to go. But Blake Oliver and Diego, we saw them earlier on in some of the games past where the zone was rotating so far away from them. They've had to decide whether they prioritize getting Storm Surge or staying in the zone. We saw how that affected their game plan. So luckily for them this time around, a zone that's kind of favoring where they drop, favoring their loot path overall. And they're trying to make it a quick and important part of their plan to try to get to one of those edge of the mountains over there. You see Canyons Crossing just in the lift. That way they can try to just set up a base, let all the teams come to them, and then worry about Storm Surge a little later.
And you know, they had a pretty rough game one, but game two turned things around for Oliver OG's team there. Rise, G Money, and Aviv, sleeper trio right here. One that was just kind of under the radar from game number one, almost a top 10, but game two, 5 or 6 eliminations in a 5th place. Definitely put them right back into the race here. And already they're off to a super hot start. This is the fastest game start they've had so far with 3 elims. So they're not going to be really worried about Surge if we had to put a bet on it. Iamzo, Clix, and Higgs on the move as well.
It's not our normal Surge towers, but it's something that they can call home. Again, looking towards the north, they're seeing all of these teams rotate by. Even some relatively safe when it comes to the zone. Doesn't stop them from trying. In the distance, you see the island as well. Those visual grades and diminish that were up there for quite a long time. You got to imagine they've kind of rotated off. And that's the thing about the island, is you don't want to be one of the last teams there having to figure out a way down. Just kind of leaves you open to taking so much damage. Aoxy, Pikes, Jojo, Fishy. I did see him get knocked in the feed. Glad to see him back up and in tip-top shape, because I do believe this is the team with the Demon's Domain medallion.
That medallion, so clutch. Clearly every advantage is going to matter, but hold up. You got to hold that thought. Cold, Ritual, and Peterbot finding themselves into another fight situation here outside the Foxy Floodgate, and a full elimination team wipe here. They will fight for the island every single time in efforts for the medallions, the mythics, right? We already know this is the game plan here. He made it very clear. You are to stay away.
Bad, man. He's just the last one alive. You can't really get down, like I said. That wind tunnel is just going to keep you in the eye, if not just them, but any other teams that are surrounding. So he's going to go down. But luckily, there's still 3 games today. There's still 6 more games tomorrow before we crown our Major 3 champion. A lot of time left. That's why I say marathon, not a race. Consistency is key. And honestly, tomorrow is where you start to think about you're going to close the gap if you are behind.
Cooper's team kind of recovering from the early knock. We'll keep a close eye on their overall damage, though. That's going to be a major setback. Visuals and Minish and Braids moved away from that kind of precarious situation we saw them on the mountains. Now trying to go somewhat more center, but this is just a world of trouble waiting beyond the Canyons Crossing here. We've already seen one endgame here. They could be looking to hedge themselves. A bet to stick around. They're not necessarily in a rush to move. I mean, 835 damage here, kind of okay for this situation, but come late game, you know, they'll need a little bit more, so they can't get too complacent.
Yeah, especially since they're essentially in the middle of a divot. Mountain ranges behind them, mountain ranges in front of them, to the east and west as well. As he continues to pull on over, Phaser, King, PH Zin. No eliminations so far. 128 above the damage threshold, but as the rest of the lobby starts to get active, accumulating their damage, see them fall to 93. It's a feeling of confidence in one way that you are above the damage threshold, but 93, these players know that can turn at the drop of a hat, so you have to start figuring out where you're going to get more damage. They immediately look to the blast side of the zone, and that's Chimp who goes down yet again, and they try to clean it up to get max surge. Mason falls, but everybody focusing this side of the zone slows down just enough for Phaser, King, PH Zin to catch their balance.
Just looking at the team looking to focus them, though. It's Recooper, Curly there, deciding if whether or not they want to take this fight here, but all that extra metal, it's a lot to break through. A little update on the other side here for Joji's team. Donnie up and out of those group stages. Clearly was a favorite for teams that have pulled multiple clutches in the past. And look at this, staying in the running, right? Who would have thought that? 75 points here as they've come into this third game, sitting at 9th place, outperforming the bulk of the server so far.
Kind of target teams down below. 438, just staying proactive, even though Pikes does get down by cold. Not sure if that was far away or up close, but remember, medallion on medallion could be the potential. It could be what they're after, because even though you're trying to hide, you're trying to run away, that medallion kind of keeps you marked on the map the entire time. And yes, it's Pikes, Jojo, Fishy, Aoxy outside of the zone as well, and they immediately get the down and move on over to try to clean it up.
Haven't seen anything in the feed just yet, but I do wonder. Phaser, PH Zin, and King once again now in somewhat of a bad situation here on this next rotate. This time is Muzz's trio looking at them. It's Reek's team off to the side. Clix there out in the mountain. These are great teams, and they know when to join in on the server focus. And then Phaser's team also below the surge. So even these elims can't keep them alive for now, but countertags there are going to buy them a little bit of a window. But it's just too much of an onslaught here happening now. And down they go.
Oh, it's so bad watching that. But when you're the chosen one, Monster, you're the chosen one. Out of the lobby, and Clix, Yamzo, Higgs in a similar spot. Active surge every 7 seconds, 25 damage. They're trying to utilize the Medmist smoke, keeping the HP high. They're trying to keep Yamzo alive, but I do think he's seconds away from getting cleaned up overall. Storm Surge still dictating the game plan of Clix and Higgs. 34 below. That's just one shot. Doesn't matter what weapon, but Bolt steamrolls his way in, takes down Clix, and sets his eyes onto Higgs next.
This is such a good team. Bolt, Rapid, Kanata, and they take down Clix. This is just unfolding in the wrong way for them right now. So bad here. Look at how it works out for Bolt. That wall somehow was his. How do they even have that much control over this general area? It's all up to Higgs now. This is an actual huge moment right now for Higgs to really prove, you know, how valuable he is to this team. But 470 damage to make up for that much damage is not going to be easy by any means. I'm thinking he's got to make at least a 2x2 here. Give him a little bit more room, or it's going to be a dead giveaway. Already the server starting to look in, trying to take their stab, and he's just only gotten closer to Peterbot's trio here on the outskirts. You know, best case scenario actually is that somehow, some way, Peterbot's team falls too, right? To keep this somewhat close, because otherwise they'll be the only team catching up to Acorn's trio who's kind of opened up that first place spot.
That's actually good to note. And now they're getting pressured as well.
Okay,
Rituals down. Second and third place.
By Higgs.
But he's still 400 below. That's essentially 2 full eliminations and some. And now he's the chosen one as well. They saw he's a solo. And now second and first place are out of the game. And now third place is feeling the struggles with Cold by himself, forced to abandon Peterbot and Ritual. No hope of getting any revives. Now he is stuck as a solo. The only real difference right now, Monster, between the two teams that went down is we are into the top 16. Every team that falls is more and more placement points for Cold, and these are clutch placement points in a tournament this close.
And he has the damage, right? Higgs had to make up the damage. He was almost forced to take a fight there. And granted, he might have manipulated things just a little bit. Cold has so much better odds at really taking away and making the most of this opportunity here. But that just means, Jacob, that we are going to have an even more competitive standing here as Visuals, Braids, and Minish have a chance to run their way up to the top. As as do Aoxy, Jojo, and Pikes. Oh no, actually, Aoxy's team was out, so it's really up to Visual's team here. Kanata, Bolt, and others, maybe even Booga's trio to go ahead and jump up into top 3.
Yeah, with the way the first 2 games started, I said I didn't want a runaway train of a tournament. I got my opportunity with them going down, but everybody below them slowly but surely following. That just means, like, the middle of the pack, everybody outside of that top 3, and even Kelly said it, the point differential was actually looking a little bit drastic early on. This is a chance for them to catch up, start to pick up the pace, and make this a tournament day 1 to remember. But Kanata, Rapid, and Bolt, I've seen them in this position before. High ground, they usually figure out a way to seal the deal.
That's what I'm saying from Aviv, G-Money, and Rise. Once again, another end game. This time, 7 eliminations, though. Huge game for them so far to go ahead and put them right up into the race here for top 5 seeding so far. Muzz's team also sitting on top of that mountain very comfortably here, but focus is starting to come up onto the high ground team of Kanata's trio. Meanwhile, Cold rotating his way through the mid-ground layers, trying to save as much of a, I guess, material count that he physically can, given that he's only got 4 builds, but he's got plenty of charges on the misform left over here. But he's gonna need a huge refresher here.
You guys saw Minish get cleaned up. I'm not quite sure, but that's the team I know that has the Wanderer's Medallion up above. Is just trying to get anything that he can. That's floor break, only 30, but at least it's something for him to work with as he's just lurking around, trying to catch somebody off guard. He needs an elimination here for the resources, for the heals, for the materials, for his tournament life, but he's into the top 14. Only 2 teams have fallen. Now a third as we get into the top 13. The superhero rank upgrade. That is what he needed.
Yeah, that's the heals that are going to start ticking in over time, and now just waiting for that misform. The name of the game is to stay alive here, earn as much placement points as possible, and he is doing just that so far. 13th place so far. Eyes on the prize here. Cold moving base to base here, just on the outskirts. The rotates are almost perfect as no one has found him out. Finally now, a little bit of pressure comes in, but this couldn't get better for him as going through these builds, right? He's got plenty of spaces to lurk and hide from, but no! Shots come in! He finds the Elim with a quick turn and burn, and talk about clutching up here when it matters.
There's always a moment like that in every major, and Cold in Game 3 has just captured that moment into the top 12. I talk about clutch points. Those are the ones, but the handoff from the Medallion, from Minish to Braids, he made sure that did not change hands in terms of overall teams, and now Braids is trying to run away with it. Gets to the front side of zone, creating space for him and his teammates. They are stuck as a duo in a world full of trios.
G-Money, Rise, and Aviv also now getting active here on the mid-ground layer. They have choices to make. Do they go for height? Do they fight down low, try to get some material count to turn this fight around? We'll have to see, but Muzz, Sphinx, and Shadow are cooking up as well here. 10 Elims now as they start to ride this coaster to the top.
Just trying to go unnoticed because they know high ground is pressuring second height, and right now that's Booga, that's Threats, that's Sprays. They're garnering a lot of that attention, being the front side of the zone. Muzz, Shadow, Sphinx, they're using that as a distraction to rotate themselves, and they get in front of Cam, Sonetto, and Osin, and now they're trying to put the pressure onto them, forcing them outside of the zone, forcing them inside of the box. Cam goes for an all or nothing play. He's able to get the knock onto one, but he goes down as well.
Oh, the finish there on the Sphinx too, leaving it down to just a 2-man operation here from Muzz and Shadow as they're kind of putting themselves back into the race here. But Bolt, Rapid, and Kanata can absolutely use this top 10 here. That's going to go in and give them a chance for a 3rd place, maybe even a 2nd place seat here on the overall standings, but they still have a ways to go. Booga, Crazy, and Threats, though, fighting for it as well, but they're starting to gas out, running low on material. Muzz's got them on their sights here. They can still do some big plays here. They want to cap off before this last and final engagement.
Yeah, but this is where it gets tough. Everybody's jam-packed like a can of sardines, close to one another. Booga gets one onto Aviv, but goes down shortly after. Muzz staying in the zone, but he's getting chunked out. He gets the elimination onto Booga just in time to save his life inside of the zone, but they are stuck. There's so many builds all around. They're trying to find the way out, but they might get denied, but no,
Wow.
Muzz does. Literally a sliver of HP. He survives.
Couldn't imagine the comms there. Shadow to go ahead and find a way out. Muzz to somehow follow through there, and although he falls, he has done so much here to earn himself so many points for his trio. Bolts, Rapid, Kanata. The refresh, though, is going to be very much welcome. They have a lot to work for, but it's going back over the builds. That means that it is not a free endgame here. Bolts still fighting for it, though. He doesn't want to give anyone a chance to go ahead and stop and heal. Rapid's gonna fall. Kanata's up top trying to play the heel off here. Braids escapes out with the misform here, but it's gonna come down to the tag. Bolts falls to the Zorm there. Braids doesn't get it. Kanata wins in the end though, because the miss was there to keep him in the game.
And they keep the trend of double-digit elimination wins alive. That is an 11 elimination victory royale game, and it kind of goes in tide with what they've been doing so far. Game 1, 8th place. Game 2, 3rd place. And now Game 3, they got that 1st place locked up.
People forget Kanata is a competitor at heart, and when he's fired up and he shows up, he puts in the big numbers. But you know what? Bolts and Rapid too. Talk about a team that has been slept on, right? These guys coming from West Region to NA Central now, just putting up the numbers amongst the best of the best, and they're doing it in excellent fashion here. What a victory royale now for Rapid, Kanata, and Bolts to go ahead and solidify themselves a victory here on the day, Zeke.
Kanata! Kanata! Let's go! Oh my god! A victory royale from the boy, from Kanata, in game number 3. Guys, we just sat there in the back watching this game, okay? And the moment we realize that they're on height and 8, right? And then the zone is like, oh man, look at all these nice little triple tarp metal builds. What if I just went back over it? And they're like, okay, like, all right, first pull, that's fine. The zone's like, what if I did it again though? It's like, what do you mean? These guys had height on lock. And while everyone else is just desperately down low, trying to find some kind of peace in this storm, Kelly, they're just up there like, oh, we're just gonna go builds over our builds a 3rd time? Yeah, that sounds good. We'll go ahead and get a VR. Thank you.
They were in 5th place after game number 2, and we saw some of our big teams, 1st and 2nd, going down early there. I know after that game that they are going to be shooting up the leaderboard, and although Kanata and Rapid played that game, played high ground so perfectly, I have to give a shout out to Bolts. His ability to leave the rest of his team, go into low ground, and still somehow have no one look at him, no one even attempt to get an elim on him. He is just him. Bolts, time and time again, can show that he is ready for the grand finals and wants to get his team not just a ticket to the global championships, but he wants to get them that 1st place spot.
Yeah, I mean, this high ground play, it's all made available by the fact that this trio went ahead and took out Clix's trio, right? Clix and Iamzo go down. A little bit of struggle with the Storm Surge right there. So the eliminations were picked up by Kanata, Bolts, and Rapid. Of course, when you go ahead and pick up those eliminations, you're going to get the refreshes from another stack trio, right? Another good trio who's, of course, going to have some things for you to work with, right? So they just have so many materials, and it's so funny, right? Because we're watching the game happen, and Zeke's like, how were they just tarping with all of this metal? Well, that's because they just had all of the materials that they needed from picking up another one of our top trios right there. And man, let me tell you something. Game number 3, Major 3 in 2025, that one might need to go down in the history books because the implications on the leaderboard, Zeke, I don't even know.
Bro, we know what the leaderboard looks like, but Fortnite fam, gotta go to break. I know, it's fine. When we return, we take a look at the standings because, as Vivid said, the implications here are crazy. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the FNCS. Game number 3, Kanata Rapid Bulls get a victory royale with 11 eliminations. And as Vivid said right before the break, the implications alone on these standings, very, very crazy. Because we do have to remind ourselves, Agers, Acorn, and Pollo went into that game in first place, right, by a pretty big margin. But them falling mad early means everyone else in the lobby can now try and close the gap. And take a look. By 1 point, that game puts Kanata Rapid and Bolt in first place. Let's go, dude!
I mean, I know that Agers, Acorn, and Pollo went down early, but I did not expect Rapid, Kanata, and Bolt to go from 5th place into 1st. That has to be one of the biggest jumps, and I'm getting excited. This is still early. This is the halfway point for day 1, but that is crazy. That can just show you how things can get so shooken up here. And Visuals, Braids, and Diminished, another trio that has jumped up their leaderboard, currently sitting in 4th place. So many people need to put more respect onto this trio, because time and time again, we see them make it to the end game. Consistency is the name of the game for this trio. And regardless of if they're able to get that big spire, if they're in the front of zone, they are able to just get so many good plays in these end games.
I mean, yeah, honestly, Diminished, Braids, and Visuals, it's like they're playing like the cleanest Fortnite out of anybody right now. There's nothing crazy going on from this trio, right? They're not playing for the high ground. They're not popping off with eliminations. They are just consistently finding themselves in the end game. And it's like almost every single time we do one of those like drone shots where we're looking at the entirety of the end game. It's like, wow, Visuals, Braids, and Diminished, they're in like the best spot right now in the end game. They're just playing super, super clean Fortnite.
And the fact that they have Medallion in hand, right? That just amps them up in that mid game. Dude, so well executed. But another trio we can't not talk about. Muzz, Sphinx, and Shadow. What the heck were they doing this game, bro? Muzz was on a completely different level. They end that game 4th place, 13 eliminations. Oh my God, Muzz. This is what I want to see from you, dude. It's so good.
This is what we all wanted to see out of this trio. A little bit of a slow start, starting up with 18th place, then getting 11th, but jumping up that placement. Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx with so many eliminations. I love to see it. This is the Muzz that we know, but can he replicate that over the next 3 games today?
I mean, even being contested on spawn, right? I think if we were to start a stopwatch from when all 3 of them landed to face the other 3, it was like, felt like 7 seconds and the whole trio was wiped. Finding those early eliminations was key for this trio for sure.
Talk about early elims, guys. Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual going down a little too early, right? Once again, we find ourselves in a solo clutch situation. Still though, 12th place rather, with 7 eliminations. Even in a situation where Cold is put to solo clutch, I love that any one of these members, if they're put in that situation, they'll still clutch, right? So they're still hanging on to that 3rd place.
No, it's always usually the Peterbot show. When everyone talks about the trio, they literally just call Peterbot as a whole. But Cold, there is a reason why people regarded him as one of the best players for the last 2-3 years now. And to see him be put into a solo like consideration and still be able to pull out those plays, that's why Peterbot picked him up at the start of the year, right? He's one of the best.
Oh my gosh. Guys, I want to talk more about so much, but we have to go back into game, okay? Game number 4 is ready for us. This is now the halfway point, okay? 3 games left to go before we wrap up day number 1. So casters, take it away.
Can you believe a 60 or so point lead going into that game? Monster has just vanished. Now it's Kanata, Rapid, and Bolts at the top spot with a 1 point lead going into game 4.
Yeah, you know what? Cold could have actually gone a little bit further. You saw Storm Sickness kicking in at the end there, really putting things into perspective of how these early game kind of sitting in the zone, taking fights can work against you in the long run. So with game number 4 here, let's see how players start to adapt. Jacob, is it heads or tails on whether or not Acorn's going to be contested? What do you think here as game 4 kicks off?
I think at least one. There's no way 4, 5, 6 teams, half the lobby, all landed over and around Demon's domain and kind of call it quits in game number 4. I feel like it's worth the risk, especially for the team that did take them down.
Yeah, and then think about how other teams got to actually play with Demon's Domain, loot, territory, medallions, right? Everything that comes from the drop in their inventory. Clearly, it allowed even teams like Visuals Embrace to go on and take it very, very far. But what a start to the tournament series here today. It seems like Ager's Acorn gets to breathe to see another day. Pollo here kind of easing up. I'm sure relaxation almost feels like it's kicking in, but they know now that they have to stay absolutely on their P's and Q's here. They got to loot quick and move quick.
Yeah, it's almost like every game they have to play like they are going to be contested right out of the drop. Once they see it's clear, send Acorn to kind of loot the outskirts. They loot the main building. Skittles, first one down. I think it might have been Shadow landing up there on the high ground, able to get the first knock, but he's taken damage by Bryce, the lone soldier on that side of things. And so now Shadow has the luxury to kind of wait for his teammates to come by, wait for his teammates to kind of lock in on this location and clean it up. Bryce is now out of everything. No bigs that are left. He has no small ammo. He is going for the revive onto Skittles, and I do think he is going to be able to get this one off. But what do you have to fight with?
Yeah, absolutely nothing. I'm also trying to just figure out how does Shadow touch down so fast before his own teammates even get there. So clearly he is way ahead of the drop right now as far as how this all worked out. But Bryce picks up Skittles here, forced to kind of retreat now with really little to nothing. But we all know this team's going to be trying to seal the deal here. There's no reason for them not to, right? They absolutely want these points. More importantly, you want to force them out the drop, see if you can get them to change the strategy. And then that way they can actually run away with the tournament here. Because very clearly, if Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx get their kind of early game going and get past the mid game, they are great in the end game. 13 elims in that last round is an absolute monstrous round of Fortnite for them.
Yeah, it's a kind of game-changing there if you're able to get into double digits, but on over to the outpost, something that we haven't seen for the first couple games so far. G-Money, Rise, and Aviv going to be contested by Curve, Josh, and Tyler. And this is honestly something before this major got around a fight that we all thought we were going to see. Curve and them chose to kind of go elsewhere. Flooded Frogs without Muzz in the grand finals, having to go through LCQ. They said, hey, might as well go up there. Muzz qualifies, said, uh-oh, things have to change yet again. They go to the first order base. They don't like it there. Triple contested, and now they find themselves at the outpost fighting for their lives. Good damage onto G-Money, but a 3v1. Curve gets taken down to the full trio wiped off the map.
Yeah, this has been going very well for G-Money, Aviv, and Rise so far. 160 points now as they get just delivered 3 eliminations there, and that's going to put them right up in contention with Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx. That's what you want, right? If you are just clearly outclassing, you know, your opponents on the drop time and time again, it's such a catalyst, right, for your tournament position. Talk about looking for a catalyst, though. Higgsy, Hamza, and Clix almost seem like they're trying to make up for lost time here, rotating fast into the pump power, not looking to give Cam's trio time to breathe.
Even trying to sneaky angle onto Sinetto. That one's going to be given up. Can still fighting for that piece control on back, and what a change-up of games. They've just been getting more and more aggressive, Clix, Hamza, and Higgs, each and every game that does pass by. That storm surge that we thought we were going to see from the whole north side of the map, there was a whole wrench in that game plan. Reed's on the hunt, Muzz on the hunt, Clixiamzo Higgs now forced to fight box to box. Bringing shades of Majors 1 and 2 back for the teams that do land on this side of the map, just kind of giving a little bit of risk-reward scenario. And that's it right before our very eyes. Yamzo is going to be the first one dropped out of this fight.
Definitely a tough position to be in now. You know, they took the risk to come here and take the fight, but Sinetto, Cam, and Sid, they're not a team that's on, you know, 0 points, right? They're at 96 points. They've been having quite the tournament day in the race for a top 10, but Higgs now kind of call out of position here. Forced to miss form. Clix playing the distance shots, but look at Sinetto. Quick to tag here, not looking to breathe or allow Higgs to get a moment there. And he cuts him off again. And they are just playing really good Fortnite here. And this might be the first mistake we see come out of Clix's trio.
Yeah, and almost by the looks of it, Higgs just down below, not even building to protect himself. He was probably out of materials overall. We're seeing how they got the drop onto Yamzo. He kind of played back, tried to go ahead and heal, but the wood build. Sinetto just melted through those with their Spire, gets that first knock. Clix disengaged. They all played as individuals, and now Clix kind of stuck by himself. Did I see Acorn, Pollo, Agers, Cold, Ritual, And Peterbot, they know Agers, Acorn, and Pollo love to go for this island. Them out of the game means Visual Braids and Minish were able to get it last game, but this is a new game with them alive. They are going for the lurk. They're trying to take down second place.
Leave it up to Peterbot, Rich One Cold to be the type of team that will do what it takes to take home the entire tournament. They're doing it here and now. They did it last season in Major 2. It is just time and time again playing out before us, and you really get to see that championship mentality from Peterbot, who kind of leads this trio. Acorn, Pollo, and Agers likely have no idea what's coming after them right now, so they have to be absolutely cautious here before they go up for high ground. The moment they go up, I think we're going to see Peter's team follow right behind them.
I already heard one rift kind of go off. I want to imagine that's Agers, that's Pollo. Yep, you see them immediately start that boss, the medallion. It's moving on the island. You see it in the mini-map. So Cold, Ritual, Peterbot not necessarily making their move now. And I kind of think maybe it's due to how they spread out to get Storm Surge after they get the island. Only time will tell how this one continues to roll out at Foxy Floodgates when we tune back in later.
Yeah, I'm thinking they're going to wait for the engagement to kind of kick off, wait until things get a little scrappy, you know, and then boom, before you know it, a fight's going to break out. We keep in close tabs on that. Before we get back there, though, King, Phaser, PH in, kind of mixing things up here. Playing the Surge Mountains, looking to see if they can exchange with anyone here in the distance. Seems like King isn't getting too lucky so far. Meanwhile, inside the storm, Shadow, Sphinx, Muzz doing exactly what they do best. That's running through Dash's trio once again right now, coming out on top. They are down 4 for 4 game after game, whether it be pushing them out of the drop or winning it outright, just in the lead. Cooper's trio, though, getting closer and closer here. Look at that. Find Bryce as well. Oh, Cooper's team's coming in, though.
This could be all right between these two. Shadow, Muzz, Sphinx kind of stuck underneath. They finished up that elimination, but basically gave away their position to Curly Cooper and Beat, positioned up above, just spraying down. Gets a little tricky here with that kind of elemental house that's already there, the environment where they can hide in, not really waste materials, not really give up too much of their location. So Reek, Cooper, and Curly are really going to have to start to make that decision. Do we stay here? Do we hunt them with the zone pushing away? They might have to start thinking about that instead.
Craziest part is that if Muzz's trio just decided to pounce on them, they were so lit up just from the storm, right? Like kind of traversing the territory here. And even now they haven't stopped to go ahead and med kit up. So I wonder if they're going to go for just a late med miss. Shadow, Muzz, and Sphinx though want nothing to do with this. They have a long way to the storm as well. So it's right about the right time to go in and get out of the storm here.
Yeah, just like last game, they're going back on over to their POI. They did take some damage. You see HP is missing, so they know where the scraps is at, the resistance base. You saw the bunker underneath. They got at least one superhero rank upgrade already, so there could be a chest to unlock underneath. As we tune back in to Clix, he was able to get Yamzo back up into the game. No word on Higgs just yet. Maybe having to venture on over, get the reboot card, playing as safe as possible, and try to get that second chance. But the biggest downfall of it all, even though they are going to get the reboots, is the damage that they accumulated for Storm Surge out the window.
They're going to be so far behind, like probably the last team in the lobby. They'll be the last team as far as overall damage is concerned so far. Scuffies, Monty, and Coldo not looking too good for this team as they kind of get a little bit of an exchange. Seems like they managed to buy themselves some time, but the other team also resets here, so not rewarded with any points. It's going to be a full-out dud. Meanwhile, we knew it was going to happen. Just give it a little bit of time. Cold, Ritual, and Peterbot seem to successfully ambush Acorn's trio here.
Yeah, they did get the elimination onto Acorn as well, so they do have a numbers advantage here deep into the zone. Agers on the other side. Cole just making sure to stay with the rest of his team, and now they have their eyes set on Pollo up above, 3v1, but Pollo, he knows not to stay too long in that position, drops down a few layers, but he's quickly getting chased around. Luckily, he was able to hide where he's at just a little bit, reunite with Agers, making Cold, Ritual, and Peterbot kind of second guess what they're doing here.
And you got to think about it. One mistake, and Pollo's going to chew you up and spit you out, and it'll be a 2v2 before you know it. Peterbot goes toe-to-toe with them. They go for the breakout. Tries to misform around, cuts off Agers here. And this is high-level gunplay at work. Peterbot known best to just hold his shotgun, track you through the walls. But other teams are putting in their attention to the matter here too. And look, this is what we talk about. All of a sudden now, they're forced to kind of reset here.
Yeah, and those visuals, Braids, in a minute. They were the ones that got the island last game. They say, you know what? You can have it. They had no idea this would play out the way it did, but that's allowing them to continue to accumulate that Storm Surge, focus on this one fight, and really distract and disrupt it as Pollo goes down next. They're able to steal away the medallion, the Mythic Spire Rifle, and now they have the choice. Do we chase Agers, get that third elimination? And it does look like that answer is instantaneous. Cold wants a piece of that pie. Look at that.
Just going straight after it. Peterbot's there to catch him, though. And in the spider's web they go to be devoured here. Peterbot, Ritual Cold take down their immediate competition. It makes you wonder who's next, Kanata, right? They might just come after you, too. Here's the setup, though. My gosh. Read like a book. Acorn comes right into the facility. They knew he'd come here for metal, and it was all she wrote.
I wonder how long overall. How long? Because they got there quick from brutal boxcars. They hid in there. They didn't really have resources, a ton of materials. They were trying to farm underneath, but they knew they had to stay quiet. That's one of those long games that played off perfectly for them because they got one of the dangerous teams out of the lobby. They get their Demon's Domain loot back, even though they no longer land over there. This is looking like one of the same song and dances we've seen at Tournament Pass.
Just also, you really think about it, like, this is what preparation looks like. You may think they're not watching your VODs. You may think they're not doing the research on you for when the time comes, if they have to go ahead and, you know, pull that play out the hat, if you will. And just like that, they were very much prepared here. And that's 2 games in a row. That's going to just straight destroy the momentum Acorn's trio was building up, right? So that's something else to consider. Here's a real fight, though. Iamzo, Higgs, and Clix here. They have so much to worry about. They need a lot of damage.
Yeah, luckily for them, somebody rotated over towards Supernova. It's given them an opportunity. Whether they wanted this right here and now might be another question, but regardless, Higgs is able to get that first one onto Preston, starting to build up the Storm Surge that they lost going down, forced to be revived, but Clix is getting aggressive, continuing to put shots down. Gray feels the pain. Core's just trying to disengage, but they have all angles surrounded from one to the next. They end up in the same box. Gray goes down. Number 2 has been achieved. They waste no time even cleaning it up. They try to help Iamzo, but he doesn't need it. The full trio is down and out. Clix, Iamzo, and Higgs got the damage they lost.
I was going to say, it was almost favorable that that team just med missed and kind of reset. They needed to just milk that damage. They need as much as possible here. Iamzo, Clix, Higgs. Luckily, this game's off to extremely fast pace, right? As teams have kind of got their groove going and geared in, and you see what teams like Peterbot are kind of making happen here on the lobby. So no surge warnings just yet. That even in itself will be a little bit of a sigh of relief, right? More time to kind of play catch up here. For Vive Rise and G Money, though, winning their early drop. Again, no pressure from the surge has just allowed them to go ahead and play very comfortably and kind of stick to the script here.
Yeah, them being contested, which normally some people kind of look at it as like a death sentence of sorts. Them, they kind of look at it as just a different opportunity. Get the early surge, do exactly what you said, opens up the flexibility. And this is kind of the same path they took in the last game, even though it's a little bit of a different zone. Because of the bunker, there's extra heals underneath if you have the superhero rank upgrade, and you can use that rift. Depending on where the zone goes, depends on how safe it actually is, but more times than not, we see teams wait until the last possible moment, drop a Medma smoke, heal up, and then travel through the zone where everybody else has it cleared out.
I was gonna say, it's probably almost, you know, perfect for G Money's team that they get hero rank A off the drop as the elims, but then just the way they play it out with the spires and whatnot in the vicinity. So that's actually a little bit of a game changer for them in its own. So keep tabs on them to see how consistent they can be. Overall standings there, though, as you can see, Acorn is not in this game here in game number 4. Now back-to-back early elims. Meanwhile, Seek, Joji, and Donnie, what can they do here?
131 points, not too far gone. You have enough time inside of the top 10. Continue to try to close that gap because you're not going to win the tournament here on day one. There's only 6 games here, 6 games tomorrow. You just want to put yourself as high up to that first place spot on the leaderboard as possible. Keep the gap as respectably close as you can, so that way tomorrow you're not having to force all out elimination top placing games. You can kind of play slow and steady to try to win that race, and that's what you're seeing across the map. The gameplay kind of changed from a lot of these surge bases towards the north to just a little bit more aggression early on.
Blake, Oliver, OG, Diego, a little bit of a mountain position right here. Kind of fish for tags. Oliver, OG, solidifying the resource, getting them back in the game, and they've kind of found themselves their new position. Off to a great start for them right now. 750 above is an excellent position to be in right now in zone number 5. And look at this, Chimps trio rotating on the outskirts as well. We might get a little bit of a clash to happen here shortly. Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual double back to this island. They got Muzz's team underneath them. Clix's trio on the move right now. They just can't seem to catch a break away from these top dogs, essentially.
You're seeing like a whole night and day difference. 1,000 damage above the threshold. Peterbot with his medallions, landing shots, 150 plus damage in mere seconds across the map. Just kind of closing down every opportunity every other team has and starting to build that confidence. I'm not sure if that one is going to be in the zone either. I think that one's just off the edge. They're going to have to start to rotate in eventually.
Clix slow lurking right now. They see the team here. This is perfect. They wait for them to get on the zip line, target the one in the back, and a full elim, instant miss form in. These players now caught and eliminated there. More points for them from well behind to 1,200 above, by the way, Jacob. I don't know if you caught the glimpse right there, but they are back like they never left.
That's what you like to see with teams like this, you know, taking control of their own destiny. Mistakes will happen. I doubt anybody can ever say they've played absolutely perfect in a tournament before. It's only how you bounce back from situations like that, and they did more than just bounce back, because they're also at 185 points, keeping it close in contention with the top side of the leaderboard. Game number 4 here. This is where you start to close out the day, and kind of where you finish kind of dictates the amount of confidence you have going into day 2 tomorrow.
Look at that, taking no risk. They're going to misform up and over as well. You see what happens when you take a zip line. You never really know. Sphinx, Shadow, and Muzz. I like this positioning. Don't like what I'm seeing with the overall damage. Muzz here to go to make up, starting to pad the meters here. This is the make or break exchanges that are really separate you. That'll haunt you if you don't find them, because things will turn before you recognize. Hold up, though. A lot of shots coming in here. This is an excellent opportunity for them right now. Ooh, Clix's trio jumping on this as well. Not that they need to take that fight, though. They want a position, possibly for elims here.
On one hand, that's like 4 eliminations, 52 below the damage threshold for Mudge, Shadow, and Sphinx. But then I start to think about those exact eliminations. Those are a contested fight. There's no shields off the drop, 300 damage. Yeah, they might have got another elimination after that, but very, very similar scenario on to Bryce where he had no HP, he had no shields. So don't let those 4 eliminations fool you. They have not been able to get a ton of damage. Even Reed Cooper and Curly rotating away, denying some opportunities there as Clix, Yamzo, Higgs getting pressured from up above. Mudseam we were just looking at, but Sonetto and Cam right across as well. They let their position be known, and they're the ones outside of the zone. That's not the right move for them, but so far it has slowed down, and they will get a chance to try to rotate out, but it's a relatively low chance because Sonetto goes down to Clix as he tries to rotate out.
And once we jumped over, Batman Joe was rotating through and somehow landed right into Shadow's domain. And he cleaned up that elimination immediately. That was about 100 to 200 damage that was absolutely welcomed for this trio right here. Now, though, Booga's team's got their eyes on the Sphinx here, who's kind of leading to rotate at the moment. But the South Pole is going to force everyone out pretty early here. Peterbot not looking to take any contested battles at the moment. They just want to get to safety here. And
they're decently well connected because of Visual's grades diminished underneath. And then they kind of reconnect on the way there. That's Ritual, that's Cold, making sure to use the extra resources they have to make sure that their position is going to be secure. Just on the edge of zone, though, that's the biggest thing to take note of. Every other team, like Muzz, like Clix, even Slepsy up there, just going to have to rotate in that direction. And it's not going to be easy because you can already see Muzz is already trying to hold one team out. Now imagine the cascading effect from here on out.
Yeah, and the mid form starting to run low here. Shadow, Muzz, and Sphinx. Shadow's just got one here. That's not the optimal situation you want to be in the end game here. Muzz does as well. Yeah, so this entire team's really leveraged their misforms heavily to make it to end game. But you know what? This is where they shine best. It's getting past the mid game that we've seen Muzz's team almost struggle with season to season, but we haven't seen them in a better position on NA than we have right now. So very cool to see Muzz kind of find his true form here late into the year. Look at the wide shot, though. No easy choices here for any of the teams. You got Clix on the other side of the wall. A Minish's trio there. Peterbot right up top. And the zone's going to pull straight eastern, so they all got to move.
Yeah, and it's starting to look kind of frightening when it comes to the zone. We're getting closer and closer to those mountain ranges as Muzz landing a couple of crucial shots, almost getting the knock all the way across. Obviously wouldn't have been able to push over and get the elimination, but you're seeing the difference in their Storm Surge threshold, 363 above, feeling more and more confident here as the game does go on. And that's a huge change because this is a team did not even make it out of groups, but during the LCQ, they get first place in Open. They win the first game to qualify, and it's a perfect time for them to catch fire.
You see the difference right here for Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual's team, who didn't have to misform their way off through the early game. They're able to really position themselves well now come this final zone rotates here. Aaron falls to the hands of Sphinx, so he was late on the rotate there below the surge as well. And this is where Cold, Ritual, and Peterbot are going to go from 5 or 3 elims now. Start racking things up. Let's see where they get to end this game number 4 here.
213 points. They're literally almost one more point away from overtaking that second place spot. Still trail to Kanata, Rapid, and Bolt Throw when it comes to that leaderboard. You see them on the map right now, front side of the zone, but relatively low. Team Phaser, PH Sin, starting to create a little bit of distance between them and everybody else, but you have to be careful. You hear that exotic pistol, the shockwave effect, kind of frightening for a lot of those teams that are going to be on the high ground, as Peterbot did exactly what you said. They cleaned up another elimination from the distance.
They're picking them up. I'm looking at the distance, though. You see Kanata situating for a bit of height as well. What is going down here? Are we going to see another back-to-back here? That'd surely be an anomaly. But Bolts, Rapid, and Kanata are starting to set themselves up. Meanwhile, Ritual's team starting to rotate straight south. Curly's team making their way through Ari as well. And everyone seems to be congesting up below them. Bolts, Rapid, and Kanata overextending outwards. Hungry for any type of traction here, but nothing's going to go on and reveal itself just yet. Still, 14 teams remaining here, so a lot of placing points to be earned.
Yeah, and they just started to set in, so this is where the real difference maker is. You spend all the time in this game, you cannot go down. A couple of rare missed opportunity there by Cole, but he's immediately going to use the misform to get out, and they overtake and throw a whole nother team out of that position. That's scared Cole. They get forced down a whole nother layer, but Peterbot wants, Peterbot takes, and there's another example of that.
King's Trio gives up the high ground as well. Look at the low ground, though. Yamzo has to play savior here. See bodies, visuals, really quick plays around the side angle to secure the elimination. Tries to see if he can chip away at what's left for Braids and Diminish. But no, Higgs falls too. What just unfolded there? Something went terribly wrong there. Now Yamzo forced to play this one out by himself. We've already seen Yamzo do this before, clutch up the big points in the end game here, but placement points are going to be absolutely critical for him. Bugha, Threats, Craze, staying as consistent as ever. Also, on track here, Jacob, for another big game.
That's exactly what they need. You saw the probabilities. Teams qualifying for the Global Championship. Bugha slow to start out the tournament, but they're ready to pick up that pace. Cold, Ritual, Peterbot, same thing for them. 203 when it comes to points. Sphinx, Shadow, and Muzz using that med miss, the regular old med miss, and he's doing exactly what I said. He's trying to heal both of his teammates with the one usage as Yamzo barely finds his way in. 3 HP, 50 shield, flank onto Cooper, but he missed that opportunity there, but he's still floating around, lurking for more, but he gets taken down by Muzz's trio again.
just goes full circle for Muzz's team here. They are all well on their way to top 10 and 10 eliminations as well. Peterbot, Ritual, Cold, though, starting to make a big move here. Up for high ground they go. They get ever so closer. And this is them just kind of feeling the water out, right? How warm is it? Is it time to jump in? Here goes the med miss. This is giving them a lot of opportunity now. Also puts a lot of kind of thought and focus in on Kanata's team. What are they going to do as they know there's a team lurking beneath them? Meanwhile, Minish clutching up by himself as well, keeping his team very well in the running for a potential third place seat here on the standings. Sphinx makes it out the side though. And Minish just kind of lurking by. Eating way too much Storm here, though. Someone's lurking in the cone behind him, too. He's got no idea. This form comes out. He's just trying to stay in the game right now. Still 7th place, a little med miss for him. And then a siphon there onto Sphinx, too. And a Minish just going crazy here. Meanwhile, Cole's team is up for high ground. The island's coming into effect. Cole lands up top. Peterbot, Ritual have control of it.
And they already have that elimination cleaned up onto Kanata. They've overtaken it. Booga, Threats, and Craze are the ones trying to threaten underneath. Bolts, Rapid, they're the only duo left in this game. Everybody else is trios, and they're flying around the threat of the island. The full trio goes down, but they claim another one as the knocks continue to go through. Rise is trying to interrupt this play. Booga's scrambling around. He steals away the high ground. No builds left for Peterbot, but he's still ready to take that challenge. Down goes Cold. Up he goes, but down again. The teeter-totter of emotions as Peterbot gets cleaned up. Booga falls as well. Craze's trio is all out. It's G-Money. It's Aviv. It's Rise. 3v1 situation. They have heals in the Chug Chug. They have bandages just in case. But what does Ritual have on the other side? That's going to be the difference. But his med kit gets canceled. G-Money makes the play. Him, Rise, and Aviv clutch up with 12 eliminations to win game 4.
Couldn't have called it better. A big game now for Aviv, G-Money, and Rise. Fighting their way up somehow. Just the most surprise win ever, as we didn't even see them lurking there on the low ground. They came into this game in 7th place, neck to neck with Booga, Threats, and Craze, and they've overcome all of the immediate competition to pull in a huge victory royale, and that surely is going to bring them up to top 5. Jacob, look at that end game right there. It just couldn't have written better for them.
Yeah, they were kind of focused on the mid layer, the high ground. Meanwhile, G-Money and Rise said, go ahead, you guys can take it. We will be the ones that steal it away when the dust settles. Game 4 goes to them with only 2 games left. Are you excited for more, Zeke?
Dude, you know I'm always excited. Oh my gosh. Rise, G-Money, the big cheese, Aviv, victory royale. That has got to be the most chaotic game we've seen today. Oh my gosh, the changing of the hands, the fact that at the end game there we saw like 6 people on the low ground, just everyone just like hello, you know, like, oh my gosh, I just cannot believe it. And with 12 eliminations, guys, this is exactly like the jump start we need, right? Suddenly finding ourselves climbing up those standings. They have got to feel so good, and with 2 games left, you know they're amped.
I mean, the best way to get a good end game is to start with a good early game. And we saw them get that big Spire, they got the exotic pistol, then we saw them rotate over into the research lab. So obviously they're getting a bunch of loot from that area as well. And to be able to just carry that into the end game as well, and to do it like ninjas, like we heard the casters say, we weren't really paying attention to the low ground in consideration of Aviv, G-Money, and Rise. But Elam after Elam, while everyone else is fighting for height, look at this. They're just able to get all these fish in a barrel, these easy elims. I love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, right? Game number 1 had that fight for height just a little bit, right? Kind of created some chaos. And then games number 2 and 3, they kind of slowed down. Boom, game number 4 happens. We probably had like 4 or 5 height changes throughout the game. And Rise is just sitting there calling, hey guys, listen, they're going crazy up above us. We'll just chill down here, look up and pick up all of these free eliminations and the victory royale. Well played by that trio.
14th, 1 elim, 5th, 6 elims, 6th, 8 elims. Now a first place with 12 eliminations, 261 points from the trio. But where does that place them on the standings after this short break? We find out. Welcome back to the FNCS, everybody. Game number 4, Rise of Eve. G-Money get themselves a victory royale. Now, obviously, we said 261 points. That's a lot of points, but where are they on the standings? We'll find out momentarily because the answer will shock you. It's second place. That's right, guys. After that last game, we jump up 6 placements. And now look at the standings. I mean, guys, if you told me we were going to be just jumping all over the place in the first 4 games of NA Grand Finals, I'd have said, no, it's just going to be Peterbot and Pollo at the top. Sort of, kind of, 50% there. But my gosh, what an impressive showing from the trio. Now, obviously, we talked about them before we kind of went to break, so we got to double back, right? We got to talk about Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot, guys. Where do we even begin? Because I feel like from the trio, this was a crazy game. We saw them contest Rift Island. We saw them sit in a building and wait for Acorn to run in. The longest con I've ever seen. I mean, so many things. They in so many ways, Kelly, they impacted just this one game.
Yeah, so smart and so prepared to not even, at first when we saw them sitting by Foxy Floodgate with the Rift Island, I thought, oh, they're waiting for Rift Island to spawn, they're gonna go for it. But then they waited, and Vivid, you were like, oh, they're waiting by the chug barrels, that's what they're doing. And sure enough, once they claimed Rift Island, Acorn drops down. They must, this is how you know that VOD reviewing and practicing and just watching what your opponents are doing, less of what you're doing, just can benefit you so much. And then obviously converting that into a high ground control at the very end, but obviously so much chaos was going on that even Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold can only control so much the end game. But what a game to play.
Yeah, I mean, that's their best game so far, right? Picking up the second place right there for the trio. I almost won it. Honestly, I feel like, you know, taking down Kanada's trio, if they would have done that a little bit more cleanly, then I think they would have went ahead and won that game right there. But as soon as they went ahead and took the higher ground, Booga and Craze, of course, playing spoiler up on the higher ground right now. And I gotta say, Zeke, the leaderboard is honestly a little bit more crazier than I feel like we're really kind of talking about, because it's like we kind of came into the lane and it's like, oh man, we're playing right now with 6 trios that are qualified to the global championship. But right now, that spot is only rolling down one time because of Peterbot in first place. Second and third place right now are going to globals.
I mean, dude.
Oh, sorry,
Kelly.
Zeke. It's just an 88-point difference between first and 8th place, which I don't know if we have ever seen it be that close. We'll see like 1st through 4th be really close, but just look how close, and look at all of the names that are here. This is NA Central. These are the biggest names that we have in NA, all fighting for the top. This is no longer about, you know, oh, is it Peterbot versus Pollo, or who? This is about who is the best in NA, and everyone is showing up right now.
And even just look, Kelly, right? 7th through 4th place, only 10 points, right? 15 if you look all the way down to 7. Like, this is like such a close race, even down to 8th. I'm sorry, I apparently can't read, but my gosh, this competition is so unbelievably close. Of course, they're Kanada. I don't know how they continue to find themselves in these situations, right? We catch them in this like surge base in 9th, and then suddenly, boom, they've got high ground. And though they didn't have eliminations, they clutch a placement in a 4th place. Like every single trio, it feels like is like maximizing. It's like, hey, you know what? I'm in a situation where I'm not going to be able to make it, but this far, they're like, cool, I'm going to do everything I can to just get every single point I can with what I have. It's just every trio is executing at such a high level right now, Kelly. I'm losing my freaking mind. I'm losing my mind.
Yeah, I think we all are right now. This is what we wanted to see, and honestly, only NA can bring it. The trios know that they had to put on a show for everyone. They want everyone excited for the global championships, Vivid, and right now, I am super excited.
Real quick, I got to highlight, right? Kanada's trio picked up that 4th place. 0 eliminations. You got no refreshes throughout that entire game, and you made it all the way to the end game. That is impressive. They're looking really, really good. And I got to, you know, tip my hat just a little bit to Clix, Yamzo, and Hig as well for kind of making so much out of that game where they went down in the early game trying to push over towards another POI. They went down. They still kind of made something out of that game, keeping themselves inside of the top 10. Those 2 trios right now making the most out of, you know, what sometimes seems like nothing.
Bro, the fact that they camped the zip line, dog. They
So
camped the zip line. Like, what? You know what I'm saying? Again, it's just like, you got to just commend all of these trios doing everything they possibly can. We've got spots to global championships. We've got a lot of prize money, life-changing amount of prize money on the line right now. But with that being said, I know you want more games. Only 2 games left to go before we say goodbye for the day. So, casters, back over to you for game number 5.
We are really closing out at the end of day number 1, Monster. And Kelly said this is some of the closest Fortnite we have ever seen when it comes to first all the way down towards 8th place. It just means one bad game going down outside of the top 17. No eliminations could cost you a global championship spot.
Yeah, most definitely. And then you got to think about with game 5 here and then the second day right ahead of you, how much preparation have you prepared for this championship? Because what I'm looking at as far as the standings go, there are teams that, well, jumped into this conversation, so it can really show us that they are extremely ready for this opportunity. So let's do it one more time for game number 5. Major 3 finals, game 5 is here and it's ready to begin. Jacob, I want to pick the conversation up where I was kind of leaving off there with all of these new teams like Visuals, Braids, Diminish, Aviv, G Money, Rise, Rapid, Kanata, Bolts. It just seems like they have come with their A game prepared, and we really could see an upset championship handover for Major 3.
I know, honestly, that's perfectly said, because it almost feels like with the amount of like shine that was on this contested fight, Peter versus Pollo, Star versus Star, Best versus Best, Kanata went and said, you know what, I'm not even going to focus on what they are doing. We're going to focus on our game. Brings back Rapid, adds the IGL, a little bit of brain. Kelly said it as well. Bolt's playing some of the most best Fortnite he's played in a long time, probably one of the most improved players from the start of the year. And even Clix, Higgs, and Yamzo changing up their game plan coming into this tournament. And you said Visuals, Braids, and Diminish. Coming into this tournament, I had about 4 teams I think could take the top spot. Now I say 5, 6, 7 teams that could be a threat.
This is scary though. Aviv, G Money, and Rise still have to overcome the biggest hurdle, which is get past the drop. Now they have been very, very consistent at doing this in the 4 games prior. However, here and now, every game leaves things up to chance. Aviv touches down first. Unfortunately, doesn't find a weapon, has to break his way through. G Money gets one here too. There goes a quick heal. Seems like Rise might kick this one off with a quick elimination. And here comes the backup for G Money and Aviv. So far, so good for the Vets.
Yeah, second time being contested here. Curve saw Rise first, reacted to him, but G Money is just waiting right behind. Gets 2 of those eliminations. And exactly what you said. This is literally the second time in a row off spawn they win their fight, and the 5th game so far they can continue to hold their spawn on the leaderboard.
It's just very, very intense. That is not an easy drop to master nor execute on. You saw how quickly the fight kind of breaks out there. There's no drawing out that drop spot like some of the others might kind of play out. Talking about that, Shadow Muzz and Sphinx have done so much damage to Bryce's trio. They are now vacant to the drop. They're like, bro, I just want to play the game. Let's get out of here. And off they go.
Yeah, just kind of the nature of contesting. You still want to do good, still want to give yourself a chance. That global championship spot, or the incredible amount of prize money with each and every place you get higher up on that leaderboard. The Agers, Acorn, and Pollo have averaged 8.1 eliminations per game this season, the highest of any trio. And honestly, I wouldn't have necessarily expected it myself with Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual being in the lobby, especially them being contested at Demon's Domain most of this season, but it just goes to show the work that they've been putting in.
Well, this kind of begins to put other things into perspective for me. We know Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot are very likely to target their immediate competition. It almost makes you wonder, we were highlighting how prepared they were for strategies against Clix's trio or Acorn's trio. But I don't know if they had Kanata, Visuals, Booga, Muzz, right? These teams on the menu for like, what do we do when those teams are hot on our heels and have the capability or the ability to be the next champions of the Major 3. So these next couple games, I think, are going to be extremely dynamic from Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot, and we might just see them revert back to whatever their original strategy was to take the lead and run home with things.
Yeah, I just want to add to the importance of these last 2 games, because right now we're talking about how close it actually is, 1st through 8th place for the most part. With 2 games left, all it takes is one mistake to kind of throw you out of that contention. Utopia City. They're not necessarily just fast farming, but you're seeing the strategy of Booga Threats and Craze, how they're able to get the loot out of these buildings so quickly. And coincidentally enough, by chopping out these buildings later on in the game, if the zone does come to Utopia City, that's one less place for any team to creep around and hide.
Yeah, and I think they usually leave one for themselves, you know, like, all right, we're going to chill here. But this time, they're just scrapping it all down. Talking about Rapid. You see he's setting things up for later into the game. But yeah, this overall performance from Rapid and Bolts, man, this is a team that it's really a duo, right? That have, I feel like, stuck by one another for maybe 2, maybe 3 years at least of history worth of competition. We've seen them alongside one another. Kanata just clearly has made the best choice in kind of upgrading his trio here.
Kind of going back even to what's familiar with the return of Rapid. But again, you see kind of the strategy of a lot of these uncontested drops. One player immediately goes up, tries to start to build that Storm Surge. The other two farm up, they get the loot, they get the extra heals, they throw it to the bottom of those ramps. That way there's not too much danger of trading off those shots. And you're kind of seeing how other people on other sides of the map, they don't have the luxury because of mountain ranges. They're not able to get up, set up their own surge bases. They literally have to go box to box, take a little bit of a risky fight and a risky scenario in order to try to get their damage. Aim Red uses his miss form. All he's really trying to do is get closer and closer to his teammates, so that way disaster doesn't happen.
Era's team, kind of the one that has made it past the early game, had a couple opportunities to earn placement come the mid game, so they're very much kind of in the tournament, middling amongst the others. Still looking for that breakout opportunity. HQ, VLEX, and Cyclops doing the same exact thing. Their strategy, however, slightly more consistent overall. These are the teams that are definitely those X factors, right? You let them loose in the mid game and you never know. If they're below the surge, they give up a good fight.
Yeah, sometimes when you almost have nothing to lose is when you almost play your best. Kind of surprise yourself at times. As Donnie, Choji, and Seek, Shining Spam, they rotated towards the north at kind of hoping the zone would go back to where it was in game number 1, but it is pulling on over to the western side this time. So they look back, Taki, Isho, and Bert, a team that they know positions at the north side of the map. Just a quick couple of shots, get information, maybe even try to see them disengage and rotate on out, kind of get a feel of where their pathing is going to be, because they do have a lot of open space towards the south that they could utilize that the other team does not.
So far, game 5 looking to be business as usual. Even for Peterbot, cold ritual here. Like we mentioned, when they have the lead, they tend to kind of ease up. Meanwhile, look at the feed. Not looking too good for Reef there. We'll give a little update in a couple moments. First, though, Peterbot cold have to kind of recover here. Force early med miss, so exchange not going too great for them.
So I might be crazy, Monster, all right? So feel free to call me crazy. Say maybe I'm thinking too much into it. But have Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold been changing their outfits every single game?
I think they have been. But you know what?
And that to me is huge because you know how players like to kind of target players, that their outfits, they know exactly who is who, rotating where, especially depending on what portion of the game it is. This is definitely kind of keeping teams on their toes in a little aspect. Maybe not game breaking, but at least it's a difference maker.
And not to mention, they haven't been in the same place twice for 5 games now. So you just don't know who exactly you are getting involved with. And that's a whole different factor you have to weigh when it comes down to taking a fight.
Changing things up again. Visual Braids and a Minish. I think anytime they notice that Aegis, Acorn, and Pollo make it off spawn at Demon's Domain, it's just too much of a risk to contest that island. Aegis, Acorn, and Pollo have made it known every single game. We are going for this island. We are going for any team that goes up there. They're just kind of letting them have it. They do have a mountain range on Foxy Floodgates itself. You see they still have loot to kind of get from underneath inside of the POI itself, and then a whole abundance of extra metal. So they're just trying to stick in what got to them this far, and honestly, that's a smooth, collected game plan.
It's crazy. From this far, you can see the little pixels, like, okay, there's one on the right side. This player jumped over here, like, they're just tracking very nicely. Braid's visuals coming out ahead with a couple extra tags there. Not bad at all.
That stat was crazy. They haven't placed outside of the top 11 in any major this year. It said major 1 and 2, but let's throw major 3 in it as well, because the worst they've placed today is 7th place. They are on a run. They already have their global championship spot secured, but this is the type of run you start to be on when you start to threaten for an actual FNCS championship.
Fred keeping things interesting for us right now. Aaron's on the press here. Not looking too good for Zonda, man. He's sort of hiding out here. There it is. Wrapping up that team. Full trio wipe for Fredbot, Aaron, and Caliper here over by the Canyons Crossing. Not bad at all. But there's still one game ahead of us. It's not like the group weekends where you only get 5. This is the standard 6 and 6. Reed seems to have been picked back up. Takes his team after getting the knock. Didn't full collapse in.
I think that's one of those things. Almost a lot of players kind of know that in the back of your mind. The distance is too far, especially it's trios and not duos. You get the revive just a little bit faster. Reed Cooper Curley probably thought it was something personal between them and Clix. That's a battle they've been going on from tournament matches to scrims. And so they realize, hey, we maybe made a mistake. We let our emotions get the best of us, and now they can have a chance to kind of pick back up, dust themselves off, play the rest of the day out, build that confidence, and kind of be like an avalanche from day 1 into day 2. You have the momentum and just let it roll its way to what could be a top spot. Shadow, Muzz, and Sphinx still towards the outside. This is no different than what we've been seeing so far throughout the games, especially with these South Zone pulls. This is a part of their game plan overall and how they're getting Storm Surge.
It's very interesting. They saw their opponents hit the med miss there, and now they're forced to med kit up if they want to take this fight and basically have even terms. So Sphinx makes the call out, and look at that. Initiates, cuts him off, and it's like we've seen this before. It's not looking good right now for Cole here. Sphinx is playing very, very fast. Kind of maneuvering here, but jumps into the spider's web. Doesn't matter. He manages to escape here. The first knock is on their side. Here comes Shadow for the backup. And I really just love to see this team perform well, especially given how much history I've seen as these players have grown over the years, especially with Shadow and Sphinx. It's almost like Muzz is just trying to keep up with the young goats nowadays.
That's just unfortunate, though. Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx, they pushed him out. They were able to get that first elimination. They forced the other 2 out, but that was enough. Smiley and their trio towards the outside. Cold landed right in the palm of their hands. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Didn't even know that full trio is there. And he goes out like a light. Luckily for them, though, I'm not sure they saw his teammate, the lone wolf that's out there now playing this one as a solo. And with his own pulling south, I wouldn't be too surprised if they get him back in the game.
Yeah, it's like one of those things, you know, you do laundry, you find a couple dollars in your pocket, you're happy. Yep, that's what it feels like to get delivered a free elimination. Pollo, Adrian's Acorn, though, sitting back up. Some prime positioning here.
Don't be worried. Don't be worried.
Go ahead.
Oh, I would say Muzz is down. Don't be worried. They're just rotating into zone, and they're letting Muzz go down because they can get the double revive, knowing this is how we're going to save our med kits, save our med miss smoke, and only really use it if they have to. But they did find out Monty kind of sneaking around as a solo.
Oh, look at this. Bryce's team finally escaping the drop here. They get to see a little bit more of the sun on the other side of the road here, but the agent, Phaser, and King show up. Let's go ahead and clean up things. Although one may have gotten knocked here. Phaser now forced on the back heels. Bryce is still pretty healthy. King and Phaser looking for the reset. This might be a mistake allowing them to actually get their way back in, but no, they just pick up the card, and I think they're going to go ahead and disengage here. At 101 points, you know, they're still very much in this tournament right now.
Saw King choosing to keep the extra heals, the extra bigs that you see in his loadout, instead of that misform. I think that's an interesting decision, but a smart one overall, knowing they have to go ahead and go right back on over to Lone Wolf if they have any hope of getting their teammate back in the game. Dash Skittles and Bryce are making that decision to follow them through and through. They know they got that first elimination, so they know exactly what they're looking for, which is an opportunity to get that reboot.
Yeah, it's almost like King notices Phaser doesn't have one either, so he's like, all right, we ride. Let's go. And they're just tanking up here, getting ready for the fight. Gotta be careful, though. Fast rotating like this, you can still get burnt. But Bryce Dash and Skittles managed to get across without taking any damage. Meanwhile, Osid falls pretty quickly here to the side angle of Cold. This is just outside the brutal boxcars. I mean, guess they didn't heed the warning. Peterbot did say, anyone step foot in this area, we are gonna push you.
Oh, here we go. This is what I love to see. The Superman sprite melts through those builds. Cold gets tagged up a little bit and immediately hits the moonwalk to get back into the box with his teammate, healing up just a little bit. The advantages of being a trio here, separating your opponent. Sinetto up top, Cam down low. He's lurking around trying to get a sneaky play, but while he's lurking around, you see Peterbot feeling all the confidence in the world. He's trying to continue to pressure on over, close the distance. Sinetto gets caught by himself. Cam trying to be the hero, but he gets spotted as well by Peterbot from underneath. He's trying to go up higher and higher, but I feel like his demise is around the corner, barring any miracles.
Just a matter of time here. There it goes. Peterbot finds another one here. This trio is cooking with propane. They're at 3 eliminations now. Plenty of damage on the board and more points as they start to pad that lead. Jumping back in with Skittles, Bryce, and Dash. Well, guess what? They have officially dropped the Brazilian legends themselves. King Phaser PHN will have to queue back in for game number 6 here. Skittles, Bryce, and Dash find themselves 1,000 damage above the surge threshold there and well on their way to another end game here. But you know, they don't have too many heals, so we'll see if that becomes their biggest hurdle now.
Yeah, this is exactly how they found him out. Separated Phaser and King. Even with the dashes, Phaser goes down. Just this quick one pump because of fighting in the zone. And then they drop on the King, and the numbers is just too much. Even though he gets a down and a good shot on the dash, they're all 3 there. Just kind of closing out. And that's the thing about Dash, Bryce, and Skittles. You know, we said it yourself. They went from contesting Muzz, actually fighting it, to going on the outskirts, going for different loot. That's adaptability in its finest and right before our very eyes.
What's going on here? Forced to stay in the zone because you have how many teams above you? Is it just a single trio, it looks like? Others in the vicinity. This is going to turn from bad to worse here shortly. The zone's going to start doing a lot of damage. And there it is. The fight kind of breaks off. So, I mean, the clock is ticking here.
Probably not liking where they were in terms of Storm Surge. Trying to force the fight while they can. Immediately it turns off and they say, hey, maybe this is something we can handle later. And not as risky of a situation. You said it yourself, a huge lack of heals overall. It just means that they're on the clock when it comes to a fight like that. And if you don't win it, it's just one less game you're going to have to play. And it's only the 5th game of the day. You're going to have one left over. This is where, no matter what has happened in your tournament so far, game number 5 is where you got to start to build that confidence.
Good zone awareness there, though, to find a rotate. That's going to give them no resistance. Little update now with Muzz, Sphinx, and Shadow, though. Front side of the other zone here, and they're going to go and walk their way through into some new positioning. I like this. I mean, they have the room to kind of work with here.
They're lurking around right now, not giving up any audio, visual. Recoup or Curly, they probably know they were there at one point in time, but don't know anymore. And they do have that yoink shotgun underneath. They can pull players towards them to try to get the full box. Rise, G-Money, and Deep keeping their hot streak of back-to-back outpost contested drops. They win those, and they're stretching it far into these end games. It's only top 20 for now, but you can see over 1,000 damage above the threshold, full loadouts, even exotics, heals on top of that, and different dash price for mobility. So they're set up and ready to go, no matter what this game throws at them.
A lot of players coming out of the canyon, crossing deep inside the storm there. That's a surprise. Bugha Threats, though, operating as a duo right now. So Lost, teammate in the sauce there, but Noxie lands right in front of the box here. Threats and Bugha have to give this one up. 228 points as well. And how consistent they've been so far. This is by far and away their worst game And then the zone pool's so far away now. You're going to have players like Veer and Noxy who likely need damage, looking to kind of press the issue here. Bugha, though, cleans up Veer. Singular tag. Storm Surge does the rest. Who's left? Noxy. He knows he's got this advantage here. They don't even seem like they want to wait him out. They want to go and push this fight, get it wrapped up quickly. They got to go, though.
Yeah, especially since they are a duo on this rotation. They don't have that third player to alleviate any of the pressure on the way over. So they have one of the max pulls on top of that. Timing is of the essence, but Noxy is there by himself. And they're going to continuously kind of look back on their way through this rotation to try to cash him and track him. Maybe try to get the elimination later as Veer does go down. Noxy was able to misform, and that's how he was able to escape. But not everyone has that luxury.
Little update with Bolton. Rapid. No Kanata here as well. Okay, so a couple top teams fractured. Down and out. Key players here so far. Acorns trio seems to be pretty healthy. Position right across from Bolton Rapid here. But if there's a duo that can do it, this is definitely one of them who've played so well so far. This game, they were positioned third coming into things. Look at Threats and Bugha. Just waiting it out, and they were like, hey, you know what? We want that Elam. We need those builds. Thank you, Nom Nom. Noxy gets deleted.
Had a feeling that was going to happen. 920. And is that them? No, that's a full trio. I was about to say that team that's just on the south side of the map. If anybody is a duo and missing anybody, and the zone pulls towards the north, there is a lone reboot van down there on the south that could come in handy depending how risk reward you're willing to go ahead and take it. As Muzz gets it down on H-Cube in the distance. Clix, Yamzo, Higgs sees a lot of action going down, and they wanted to take part in that one, but that's cold. That's Ritual Peterbot, the ones they're focusing on over in that side of the zone. Even with a med miss smoke going down, it's causing at least a little bit of distractions.
Yeah, I think if anything, it's causing a target. They're like, wait a second, is that team weak? No, they're not. However, does end up attracting a couple shots right there. Old Ritual Peterbot survived the storm. 5 Elams right now. Front side of this next rotate here. An extra misform there to work with, so they'll be just fine. Here's a replay of how it all went down. They find HQ's team trying to play the med miss here on the front side of zone, waiting for things to rotate through, but they leave them no time.
And H-Cube wasn't even the original down. That's just awareness over 9,000 because it was Muzz that actually gets the elimination credit for that one, but they just get all the spoils of that battle, all the loot and more. As Pollo agers Acorn back in the game after, what was it, games 3 and 4, one of them being contested, one of them being lurked and snuck up on. Not necessarily the moments they thought they were going to have, but in here, this is really have to start to pick up the pace, make up for that lost time, because they had almost a 60-point lead after the games.
This is what's really interesting. You start leaving Acorn's team to their own vices, and they make it to another endgame. One of the most consistent. G-Money, Rise, and Aviv also finding their consistency as well. They have such a good footing on the lobby right now. They're right in between Clix's trio, right in between Peterbot's team as well. Here comes the rotates. They go dashing out across, but Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual are just adding up more and more to the tally here. 6 elims now. As we're approaching the end game, this is going to give them a little bit more material to work with here.
And the thing is when they're in this type of flow state, Monster, you're not going to beat them by matching them placement for placement. We've already seen that through last major. You're going to have to get eliminations to close that gap, because that's exactly what they're doing to kind of extend their lead game after game. Even the ones that they don't necessarily win, it's their consistency to pick up those eliminations that matter. As Mason, Golden, and Chimp up above, they're going to be on the high ground for now. You see them extending over, spending as much of materials here in the 9th zone to try to keep it intact.
Here comes Rotate, nice little misformer on the outside, trying to catch up with Rapid. Just gotta let them in. There it is. They got themselves a nice layer to go ahead and work with here. Meanwhile, look at Rise, G-Money, and Aviv. Just in full control right now. Clix's team is on their layer. Another team, Ritual's trio, on the opposite side there too. Things are starting to heat up here. Ager's caught on the backside of the rotate, so that's one down.
So something you don't necessarily see every day, is them kind of getting separated and kind of jumped on in those tight situations. It's cool. Peterbot Ritual, they cut off the path that it did look like they were looking for. The zone continues to open up. They may not be on the high ground, but they're just controlling the tempo down below, claiming all that space, 2-3 boxes wide, and they're staying hip to hip just in case anybody breaks into this box. They can all pounce and attack together, but sprays coming in from all directions, front of the zone, behind them as well. Shadow forcing Peterbot to just disengage away from Ritual and play as individuals.
Gotta keep turning up here, though. Even though they're hurt, they're inside the top 10 now, and this is where we start to see Peterbot do Peterbot things. Keys his way into the box. Already clearing out the low ground layer. Cole starting to reset, but has to turn. Finds a little tag there. Peterbot follows up to clean things up. Ritual, though, carrying his own as well as things are heating up here on the low ground. Meanwhile, Bolt's playing the backside of zone. I see Acorn and Pollo still alive. Clix, Yamzo, Higgs might be the only healthy, strong trio in the low here.
And they got a couple of extra heals in their back pocket, but no. Higgs goes down. You see him immediately dropping over that loop, giving the upgrade on over to Clix. He's getting forced further and further back. Clix trying to peek a shot. Doesn't want to give it up for free. Doesn't have a lot of materials here. 3 builds left, but he's able to get the knock onto G Money, but his luck comes to an end. He gets taken down. That was another big elimination in a tight moment, but he is also left by himself. Peterbot, with 5 eliminations as a solo, has to continue to go big.
He takes down Aim Red, takes down Clix, and he's still going. Meanwhile, Muzz, 5 elims right now, playing as a solo right now. This is the best Fortnite we've seen from him in any major in quite some time. And then he follows up onto Rise and just deletes him before he can even react. And just like that, he'll finish inside the top 8. Peterbot still at it, though. You cannot count him out, and he is maintaining the lead here on his own, literally putting the team back on his back, as is Yamzo. In 5th place now, though, Jacob, he is still working his way through, and he's not out yet.
Yeah, there's 7 missing players away from teams. Angel's able to get the elimination onto Pollo. Acorn goes down as well, so they outplace him yet another game, even though there's not too many placement points, being the difference maker here. But Peterbot popping his minis. He knows he has the misform. The Chug Jug in the back pocket as well. Final 3, 2 of them running around as solos. Peterbot goes down. Yamzo, the last solo left alive, challenges the 3v1, but it's a challenge he will not win. That's Golden. That's Chip. That's Mason out of nowhere to win the game.
They finally found their opportunity, and they seized a win and take the day. Game number 5. Well played for Chimp's trio. We almost had them out of the race for a moment there, but they said, give us a second. Let us cook. Well played for them, but the amount of solos there too, though, in that end game, Jacob, was really keeping things interesting. I mean, you had Yamzo, you had Peterbot, you had Acorn, all lurking on the low ground. What a game.
It definitely was, and with all that kind of chaos you're talking about going down, they just immediately take the high ground and don't really get contested any step of the way through this end game, taking down solos, letting them do the work, and eventually Yamzo did go for the challenge, but it's just too little, too late. A big game from them, from 18th place, flying up the leaderboard. Where do they land? Don't worry, Zeke will tell us.
I can't spoil it that quick. All right, Jacob. We gotta take a look at the standings after the break. Then we'll take a look. Hold on. My gosh, though, the trio. This felt like the game like 2 ago, right, where we had the trio on height. They laid out the triple tarps, right, and then the zone just kept pulling back over their builds. At that point, right, it's just on this trio. Hey, we just gotta just be calm, cool, and collected. Zoe's down there solo. Peterbot's down there to solo. They'll clean up the lobby for us. We just got to be there at the end. And that's all they did, right? They really just played this out very textbook. And with these other like incredibly immovable forces just cleaning up the low ground for you, it's like, oh yeah, you guys got it. Keep on fighting down there. It's all good.
Mason, Golden, and Chimp already proved themselves in Group 2 when they grabbed the 3rd victory royale, and there were some big names there that they were able to beat out. So to see them be able to continue that momentum into the grand finals, that's what I love to see. 11 eliminations is definitely going to have them sitting pretty in our leaderboard.
Yeah, obviously we're kind of seeing a pattern up on the higher ground for most of the games today, right? The team that's up on the higher ground, nobody's really looking up right there. And honestly, that was just a matter of fact, the lobby as it currently stood, right? We were going through some of those end zones and it was like, wow, everybody seems like they're a solo or a duo. Nobody really had the firepower behind them to contest. And like Zeke said, there was just so much mats up there, right? It was like the triple layer of cone, so hard to do anything about it in the first place, but just well played from Golden, Chimp, and Mason.
That's right, man. I'll go ahead and spoil it. They're 9th place, but what does the rest of the standings look like? Let's find out after this short break. Welcome back to the FNCS. Anyway, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the FNCS. One game left to go. Get it together, Zeke. Last game, Golden, Chimp, Mason got themselves a victory royale. Now, I went ahead and spoiled it. They're in 9th place, right? Jumping from 18th, as Jacob called out, going into that game, all the way up to 9th place. Well executed from the trio, but the job's not done, right? We have one more game to go. We've got another 6 tomorrow, but let's take a look at these standings. Guys, the top 3 did not move. I am very concerned right now, especially when we go into that game and Peterbot decides, oh, what's that? Oh, Zeke, oh, I'm a solo. No, what am I gonna do? Oh, I guess I just turn it on, go ahead and get 3rd place with 11 eliminations. Okay, Peterbot, okay.
He can't keep getting away with this.
He can't.
Pulled Ritual and Peterbot time and time and time again. When we think, oh, this is it, this is the tournament for them to lose, they just start climbing up the leaderboard, and with even out a victory royale, which we know that they are well within their capability of claiming one, but they would rather just decimate the low ground, getting all these eliminations, and we know how Elam heavy they are. But for these solo clutches to come out, for them to also get these placement points to survive to the very end, Vivid, it's looking a little rough for the rest of the lobby.
Yeah, I mean, as we saw on the leaderboard right there, they have the most eliminations throughout, right, with 44. Although, surprisingly enough, Muzz's trio close behind with 40. But yeah, right now, it just seems like this trio is just all gas and no breaks. It's like we tune in with them. They've got enough mass to go ahead and build like a little tarp, stay safe a little bit. But nah, they just keep making the edits on the trios. And I mean, we've seen it happen time and time again throughout, right? They just instantly can lose a member or two. And, you know, when that happens, it just seems like it doesn't matter. Whoever's left alive on the trio, you know, we've seen Ritual clutch up, we've seen Cold clutch up, and now we just saw Peterbot clutch up as solos. They just refuse to go down without like breaking into that top 5 right now. It's working out very, very well, but that's why we kind of see 0 wins right now. Is because, yeah, they are all gas and no breaks. They're finding the eliminations, but inevitably they're going to have somebody go down. So yeah, they're not getting the wins, but they are finding so many eliminations, and it's working out top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, I feel like in those situations, like with the trio, it's, I don't know, and you guys are gonna make fun of me for this, but it's like, I feel like they go down to a solo and that person's like, oh no, I'm a solo. And you get like the Grinch where he gets like the smile and the little hair like uncurls. Then they just pop off. I don't know what's going on. You know what, you're right. You don't need Victory Royale if you just walk with 10 plus eliminations per game. All right, crazy stuff.
Zeke,
Aviv,
to add
go
on
ahead.
to that, I think that there is a lot of coordination, a lot of communication that goes on when you're a trio and you have to kind of stick together. So maybe being a solo, you're kind of allowed to unlock all of your chakra gates or whatever that Naruto thing is. You're able to be by yourself and play to the best of your ability. You don't have to worry about sticking with Ritual and Cold or whoever you are as a solo player. And so maybe it kind of unlocks this innate ability in Peterbot.
Okay, heard. I like that. I'm gonna continue to research that. Really quickly though, Aviv, G Money, Rise, second place right now. That game, they got 7th place with 7 eliminations. And again, guys, we have to kind of talk about consistency, right? Because if we're trying to stay as high up this leaderboard as possible, because remember, there's still a bunch of trios in this that have already qualified. So we need to make sure we are staying basically within that, let's say top 5 at all times. This is a really good pace, right? But we cannot miss a beat. We cannot be eliminated off spawn. We can't make a mistake. And I'm just concerned, right? Like, because it feels like these guys are firing on all cylinders. But eventually something has to give, right?
I mean, for right now, they're in 2nd place, so I don't think anything's giving just yet. Aviv, G-Money, and Rise, individually, incredible players joining together, and I had like a little bit of a rough start for this season, but slowly, bit by bit, if you look at their placements throughout the tournament, you know, getting 21st and 13th, and then in the play-ins, they got 6th place, and then they got a victory royale in their group stages. They have been locked in practice for the last few weeks, and it's really showing in their placements.
You know, obviously the leaderboard is seemingly right now pretty close together, right? Like everybody's really, really close. And I think the incredible thing is that like almost all of our teams are kind of, they look like low ground teams right now, right? Every single time we tune in with them, they're kind of trying to control the front side of the moving zone. Some of them are trying to control like the back side of the moving zone. It's kind of crazy how this meta throughout some of these end games is kind of phasing out, where it seems like everybody's playing low.
Yeah, that was definitely not on my bingo card, right? With some of the trios in this lobby, I would have thought, we're going to see a fight for height every single game. Not the case, but this is the last game on the day, okay? This is where we cement ourselves and we prepare for day number 2 with one last game. What are these trios looking to accomplish? How high will they climb these standings? Let's find out together. Casters, over to you.
There's only this last game for the day, Monster. Now, we're talking about a 58-point lead from Peterbot, but let's talk about the global championship spots as well. Aviv's team, Rapid's team, they're already the 2 teams that would be looking at it, but it's about 15 points down from Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx that are still in that race as well.
Yeah, definitely. That is going to be what the real question is at the end for some of our teams here. Well, we get to do it one more time. Let's jump on for game number 6. The Major 3 Finals, Day 1, Game 6 is now here, and we are in quite a tournament run, almost a historical run. Some might say as far as how close the Day 1 competition can end up being, But for Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot, it seems like it has been business as usual for them. Jacob, we've seen Peterbot take almost the tournament into his own hands and manipulate the outcomes by targeting other teams that get close to him, but who will do it to them? Almost feels like the question, does anyone have the heart to go toe-to-toe with them and really try to take first place from them?
Yeah, that is a big question to ask, because, you know, in last major, it was Clix, Yamzo, and Higgs, but it was a different song, different dance. They were the top two teams with just small amount of points separating those two. And for Aviv, G-Money, Rise, Rapid, Kanata, and Bolt, there's too much on the line. Even Mud, Shadow, and Sphinx down below on that leaderboard in terms of global championship spots. So I think we're looking at one man. I think we're looking at one team. And they've been battling all season long. And I'm going to make it known, if anybody's going to stop them, I think it's going to be Agers, Acorn, and Pollo.
That would be kind of a plot twist, right? Where they're like, all right, you done did us dirty a couple times here. You set us up for failure. And all of a sudden they try to go ahead and counter them back. Well, be keeping tabs on it. Skittles, Bryce, and Dash kind of mixing up the strategy here. So it seems like they haven't been really happy with being pushed out of the drop so fast. The last game, that didn't work out at all. It seems like they probably are feeling like, hey, we have better chances just standing our ground here, taking the fight. Sphinx, Muzz, and Shadow on the other side have so much more to lose, though. They are very much in the conversation, in the running for a win here on the weekend. For that reason, they're not pushing too aggressively just yet.
It's almost like those mental games you're talking about. But I did see some action go on in the feed. Our last game winners, one of them does get taken down. That's Mason. Kind of gets back down to the lobby early. Is Tyler, Josh, and Kerr playing drop spot roulette. They find themselves over Outlaws Oasis, contesting Oliver, Blake, and Diego. A surprise contest might have been what they needed. They win the off-spawn fight. And with only 20 points so far, most of those coming from this game, this might be what they need to start to build that confidence, to start to build that momentum, because where you land here really says a lot about the type of day you're going to have tomorrow.
Super rough for Oliver, OG, Blake, and Diego. They have had overall one of the better days that they've ever had in the grand finals lobby start. Just approaching top 10 had they not dropped the ball in game one, but with game 6 now not going in their favor, that's going to be a massive, massive upset. Pollo, Agers, and Acorn, likely the only team that could be the kryptonite to Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot's domination so far here. But that is still to be said.
Kind of seeing over here a different switch up. I said it already on the other side of the map, a new team contested Diego, Blake, and Oliver OG, which leaves only one thing, Monster, G-Money, and Rise, and Aviv to be uncontested once more at the Outpost Enclave. And honestly, what better situation could you have risked for if you were them? But it's almost looking at both sides of the coin, because now where's their surge going to come from off spawn? It almost forces them to change up their game plan for a third time today.
Yeah, I'm looking at their games, 6, 8, 12, 7 elims. 3 of those coming from the drop is super important. I mean, that's 50% to a third of their average elims per game came from the drop spot. So that's honestly a big chunk of their points too. Could be the difference maker that sends Aviv, G-Money, and Rise spiraling down. We will just have to see, though. Sphinx, Muzz, and Shadow strategy doesn't change at all. They continue to just play aggressively towards Bryce, Skittles, and Dash, pushing them out of the drop.
That's how that fight started in the beginning. We tuned in when they were already essentially winning it, but it's just quick finds, get them separated. And they do it again with a whole nother trio that's trying to rotate through their new POI that they claimed for themselves for 4 or so eliminations right out of the gates. Depending on where the zone goes, this could be a game for Tyler's team, because they also just took down Chimp.
I was just going to say, wait a second, Tyler turning online right now. Chimp falling in the feed there too. Would not be surprised if they just key their way through what's left of that team. I mean, when you have nothing to lose, why not? Just have fun with it. Turn up and show out. Let's see it. Tyler, Curve, Josh laying right into the hands of Chimp. There it is. Caught him off guard. Caught him out of position.
That almost looked like Elim number 5 there for a moment. Bullets cannot rapid. They hear all this noise going down on this side of the map, and normally we see them kind of base up over at Crime City, trying to go ahead and take advantage of these teams rotating in that direction. That might not necessarily be the case with the amount of eliminations so far, as Mason does get taken down by Rapid. Bolts is going to clean that one up. First elimination so far for them as they start to accumulate Surge in a different manner than they have every game so far.
I was going to say, pay attention. These are teams that are finding consistency all throughout the day. And Kanata as well has had very, very unlucky day one grand final tournament performances. He's managed to constantly pull back right on day twos and kind of come back into these top 10s. Look back at any of those years past events. But this time, man, he's off to a hot start. This is pretty exciting for him, as we're starting to see. I mean, would you say they've kind of solidified a seat on the battle bus at this point to the globals? I don't know. It just seems like they're very, very close.
Yeah, as much as I want to say yes, I also don't want to be the one everybody blames as cursing a team like that, especially during a hot streak that they're in. And another team right here, Clix, and Higgs, changing up their game plan. They found some success in that last game. It was a little bit of a clutch, but they went ahead, instead of hunting teams down for Surge, we saw how risky that was in earlier games, to setting up back to normal. The Surge bases, shoot off at teams in the distance. And another thing is the zone is pulling towards the north, so teams will have to rotate into them, which makes this more and more of a reason why this is a good game plan.
Yeah, it seems pretty much like a no-brainer for them right now to just kind of stand their ground here with the zone on top of them. Reets super tagged up there, but Phaser here finding Tyler and his team on their warpath right now, and see Josh right there in the mix too. No King here. They have an Elam, so it seems like they must have wrapped up a fight against Josh's trio. Found a little trade, but they're going to be the first to disengage now.
Looks like they're going back on over to Lone Wolf to get the reboot. It's in zone. In my head, might be a little bit risky, but they might have also pushed some teams out. They know not too many players are currently there, especially since they're using those dash sprites to cover the distance as quickly as possible. Next island is going to be appearing, and it does look like it's going to go all the way over towards Pump Power, which is a Vert, Ishao, and Taki map that they can kind of take. They already have the medallion locked down, which is honestly a little surprising considering this is the one few islands we know Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual spawn nearby and could potentially be a threat to.
Like the setup here. Nothing really opening to them just yet, though, even though they got this nice elevation.
See them looking by. Spire is going to spawn this time around, which makes a little bit more sense why they're not keying over towards that island. And Peterbot sets his eyes on the north side of the map, this Supernova Academy. You know as well as I do, everybody else at home knows Clix, Higgs. They not only land over there, but sometimes they do tend to take that railing, which boosts you all the way from Supernova to Brutal Boxcars. And usually catches a team or two off guard, but that's been a strategy Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual known for a while and know to watch out for.
Big fight going down right now for Pollo, Aegis, and Acorn, though. Kind of like the setup here. This is right south of the Demon's Domain, so they've rotated down into Aimred's trio here. Trying to see if they can squeeze away some extra points. Seems like more than just a damage play. I think they're trying to close that gap to catch up to first and second. There's a lot going on here, too. Look at this. Two teams kind of lurking about.
Superman sprite is kind of scary to listen to because you know it's only a matter of time for the walls get taken down. Smiley and Iman up. They are right there. Smiley just went down to the zone. They had no extra heals to use to stay alive much longer. This Pollo, Aegis, Acorn, I'm not even sure if they know that team was there, just kind of floating around, but Pollo is going to spot out that knock. Extra loot for them, damage for Storm Surge, not necessarily what they were looking for, but they're inching closer and closer to Aimred, Angel, and Gary. This is what they were after, using that Superman sprite to just melt through the walls, take control of those pieces, make it easier for them to find some footing in this fight.
And I just love how you can see like the play styles at play. Acorn staying like 3 boxes back. Pollo's the one first to step up and look to take that wall. Just everyone playing their role almost perfectly, methodically here. Agers on the side angle, just being that nuisance factor there, but comes that extra pressure. I'm thinking they got to wrap this up quickly. There's another team coming from the north pretty quickly straight south now. They're messing around those areas. Gotta be careful here.
I like this. I like this from Aimred. Instead of just kind of like taking the beating that's getting thrown at him right now, it looks like he was going to go for it. Lurk. Maybe try to mount some offense, push him back, make him think twice about this scenario. But he didn't really see anybody to go after. They're all hunkered underneath their own builds, just putting a huge amount of pressure, getting them to burn through their materials. So even if they do find a way to disengage and stay alive, they're going to have to farm somewhere.
Spire rifle structure damage is just too good. The pressure lasts too long. Who's this? Looking at this team in the distance here. Oh no! Gary was one shot away from getting taken out, and Pollo whiffs the tag there, now forcing us into very dangerous territory. Sure, Aegis and Acorn might be able to clean this one up, but a new trio showing in and showing up pretty quickly here and now. They're going to be the first to be collapsed on because they're on the outside, so forced to go a little bit further inside. Meanwhile, Sleepsy takes the high ground here. This is bad now.
Yeah, even Angel's underneath trying to heal, but that's a huge signal that you're giving away the audio visuals. But with everybody kind of stuck underneath in those builds, it kind of gives that team up above just no real sign of confidence. They're going to disengage on out. Does look like they're still looking for Angel that soloed the audio visuals, but this is how Pollo got caught off guard. Gary, literally all or nothing. Pollo, a rare miss is what costed him that fight against Gary.
Just shows you, you know, can't make a mistake. Doesn't matter who you're fighting. If you're in the grand finals, you're here for good reason. You are a threat even to the best.
I was just thinking, I saw him with 2 eliminations. I was like, what? Uncontested? Where'd the elims come from? They get Noxie down across the map, and G-Money was already there. He immediately pushes over and gets the elimination onto Ozone. Oh my, what a sneaky, sneaky fella G-Money is.
Just look at them go. How they clean things up here at the Kappa Kappa factory. They'll be able to get their pickups going, get them right back into the game. More points going their way now, just making up for the lack of contested early game. And that's how they find their damage. You know, we had some small concerns, some questions about what did they have in store, what game plan they had for making up some damage. They've managed to figure it out.
Braids visuals and Aminish are actually playing pretty good. Braids at the top of the damage leaderboard. Something that you've seen Peterbot at top of for 5 straight FNCS finals. No, I did not make a mistake. 5 straight is correct. Just shows the kind of prowess that he has. And now Braids is looking to threaten that one. Agers, Pollo, Acorn using every bit of resource on their way out. Knowing where these campfires are at are huge. Because you see Agers, no extra bit of material. Oh no!
Wait a second. Who just made a mistake? Who was that? Call him out now. Let us know. You cannot do that. That was crazy.
Oh my, okay, double res. The other one will go down. Acorn should get one up. Oh man. Oh man, that's a situation I feel like I would never see a team that experienced in a long time. And they haven't really left away from Demon's Domain at all.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say about that. We all know it was a mistake. Those things happen. Sucks that it happens here and now when they're kind of in the race, you know, still in the race, but hopefully that doesn't offset their, you know, their mentality, right? Their focus. That could easily send you on tilt. They have a pretty tough day, you know? It's like trouble comes in 3s. Maybe that's the 3rd.
Such like exactly what you're saying. It's such a high and low, facing kind of both ends of the spectrum overall. Back-to-back wins to start it off. Back-to-back games not doing so good. You have a decent game 5, and then again, a speed bump in your journey all along. Bugha, Craze, and Threats. When we look at zones, so far throughout this entire tournament. This one in the final game of the day should be the zone that suits a team like Booga, Craze, and Threads so well. They land over towards Utopia. They kind of set up that triangle formation in terms of surge bases to kind of cap out on their overall surge. And as the zone shifted towards the north, they immediately rotated along with it. And I think this is what you got to do to kind of set yourself up right. And even Craze trying to go ahead and converge a lot of those heals back at their second surge tower.
Definitely the way to play it. From the academy down to the pump power, this is Clix and Higgs strategy. No strangers to rotating into this draw spot. We've seen them fight here before, but this time it's for materials. They are definitely desperate to kind of secure some metal right now. There's a lot of teams here.
Yeah, it's not just metal either. You see kind of all of them lacking in break as well. Liam finds a sneaky opportunity to land some damage on the Yamzo, but Clix immediately jumps on over. He's able to slip his way on out, but they become a little bit of the focus of the lobby on the side of Pump Power. Clix realizing they're trying to disengage, giving them the confidence to try to mow him down. He's able to get the first knock onto Liam. Higgs is breaking through the side wall. He's feeling more and more confident. That knock gave him a little bit of a green light, but I think Reet and Curly are there on the other side as well, so they have to be careful.
That was just such a high-level execution by Clix right there. It may have looked like he was going to mindlessly key in, but you saw him just pause at the door, just watch and listen as the lobby joined in the fire, not putting himself into harm's way. And this is just, I feel like, again, the evolution, the growth of Clix as a competitive player is very nicely done. And again, Liam, Xavi, and Neko played very good early game fights. This is a team that does very well in fights, so you have to put a lot of respect on them.
And they've been pretty consistent getting up into this stage. Just honestly, when your day starts with a triple contested fight, it's not the most confidence building day that you can have, but you got to be able to close it out to make it so. As Aim Red runs into Acorn yet again. A fight earlier on from Demon's Domain, or at least the south portion. He gets his revenge. Gary falls as well, boxed up. Angel completes the full trio right.
Completely different team. Elims right there, very nice. Meanwhile, Minus, Visual, and Braids not slowing down the action here by any means. They already had a couple Elims here, but they're cleaning up house here after Fred's trio. Oh, look at that pressure coming in from the side. More teams now joining in the action. This is bad. They're almost calling the lobby to focus on them, but seems like things simmer down for a second. That's going to be their third Elim right now. Kalipper gets away. It's Bolts and Kanata who's watching this all play out below them. Short rotate as well for them, Jacob, here. So they can move anytime. Uh-oh. That reaction time. My gosh.
I would say they might be able to move anytime that they want. Doesn't mean it's going to be a safe one. Great damage by Acorn, Aegis, and Pollo, seeing that one from a mile away and really executing on it. And not even getting greedy with the amount of damage there. Some teams might have pushed on over to try to clean it up, but they know more and more teams are going to have to rotate through this side of the zone, or they're going to have to run into them. Fredbot feels the pain. Pollo is going to get credit for that knock and eventual elimination. Caliper's trying to go up and over, and Minish does well, but they are the ones holding down this side of the zone overall.
There they go. Already at 6 Elims now for Acorn, Aegis, and Pollo. Short rotate here. As things go south, most teams have to move. They're going to be early, being quick to the draw here. Rise, G-Money, and Vito in the replay client. Look at that. Nice job onto VLEX. Cyclops comes in, but surprise, surprise, Aviv and G-Money are here to support them. They are playing excellent Fortnite right now. Game in and game out. Shadow Sphinx left as a duo. What happened to our boy Buzz?
Yeah, I saw the down in the feed. I thought maybe they can get the revive back onto Buzz, but nope, that is not going to be the case. And what a terrible time to lose your teammate as well. 19 teams still up. 2 more teams need to go down, though those placement points start to cascade in more and more with every team that does fall. As we're near the Brutal Boxcars Mountain, you're seeing the elevation that they've held throughout the start of the game until now. kind of banking in the fact that it will pull in their direction. Teams will have to rotate, and then that's what they can use to get Surge. They're not 1,000 above like we've seen them in the 2 past games, but they're still 300, faring very, very well, especially compared to some of the other teams in this lobby.
Very interesting that they're also staying kind of like separate, still with these incredible structures kind of all around the area because they can. I almost feel like they want to solidify like a really strong lead, and they're not doing anything out of the ordinary here. Ooh. These pistols are definitely dangerous.
Oh, looking down below. He does land some damage onto Josh, but not the first or the last shot, so no shockwave effect coming into play. Taki vert knee shell. Seeing a team roam around right below. That's Clix, Yamzo, and Higgs, who are doing the same thing to the team below them, which is King, Phaser, Cold's team, along with Monty. Reed's even further down that side of the mountain, but Phaser and King, they're just getting forced outside of the zone, but you're seeing why Clix and his team are getting so aggressive below the damage threshold. Tagged up yet again, dropping down the side of the mountain. Clix stuck on the side of that as well. He's going to get rescued for a short moment. They barely find themselves 29 damage above the threshold, but that's going to give them a moment to breathe, reassess the situation before they inevitably have to get active again.
Wait for Yamza to just keep his cool there and not throw down a med miss, because I know I would have been like, whoa, insta, put it down. That was a little intense right there, especially with the surge right on top of them, but here they go, 2 below again, so the pressure looming above them. Clix Yamzo have to make a move here. This is not the place to pause down. Here comes the med miss here to kind of force them in, but the lobby sees this as a sign of weakness. Skittles turns over, finds the knockout to Clix here. No traded damage. There it is. Finally, they find a little bit, but Bolts can auto rapid. They have their eyes on the prize here.
Storm Surge is active too. That was a good chunk of the damage that kind of brought Clix down. Higgs and Yamzo to reposition and barely run. Whether you're an inch or a mile below that damage threshold, it does not care. It's instantly going to activate. 115 above though. Pressure has been alleviated as they make their way towards the zone, but not fully. You see their resource count very, very low. Heals gone out the window, and once again, a singular damage below the threshold.
Acorn and Agers have the high ground right now as well. They're positioned well over the lobby here. Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual have opted to go into the ultimate low right now. Now up into another box here. They find a fresh trio, force that player out. He goes dashing across. This is still a rotate they have to make here, so they're not in the clear just yet. Only a single elim, a very slow and steady game right now for them. I'm looking at the bird's eye view. I see Kanata, Bolt, Rapid, Yamzo, Higgs still alive here, making the move as well. Kanata, Bolt, and Rapid running their way up the top as well. The more elims they get, the closer and closer they get to closing those gaps.
Unfortunately, you saw Reek get taken down. Shadow falls.
Wow.
Around 15th place for him, Muzz, and Sphinx. That's got to be a nightmare way to end the day. But luckily for them, 6 more games to pick up the pace tomorrow. Higgs still suffering for active surge, storm damage as well. Backside of the zone, it overtakes him. But PH Sin actually gets the elimination, but does not reap the reward. No siphon. He immediately goes down in seconds.
If only he wasn't a duo still, Higgs would still be in the game, but there you have it. Just shy of the top 15. We're just inside of it. Cold, Peterbot, Acorn taking their time now, even playing this med miss. And this is what I talked about. I can tell that they just want to ease their way into a nice, comfortable lead for tomorrow so they could just run away with this tournament. Likely to go for high ground now. We'll see. They want to play for this Victory Royale here. Pollo, Agers, Acorn give up the positioning here as they run out of material. They're forced to find a refresh here.
Yeah, and that's after already getting one. Agers took down Donnie on his 6th elimination. They have 9 total overall, which is crazy to think they're out of material. But Cold, Peterbot, and Ritual are the ones that are on the high ground. Pollo gets bounced up, trying to go for it. Ritual's shields go out the window, down to just a sliver of HP, looking for a way to survive. But it's Pollo that was the one that took him down, but it sacrificed everything. Him and his teammate will fall, leaving Acorn the last one alive. But Peterbot is in the same boat.
And Bolt's found Pollo there too, so this is all kinds of just exchanges happening right now. A messy, scrappy endgame here. Peterbot sees a little med miss, wants a piece of the action, goes to get some of that. Acorn finds someone, but the misform saves that player. His is now recharged and ready. He's chasing him down. It's Cooper. This is a healthy Cooper, though. He's got to be very, very careful. Oh, nice little find here. Go ahead and chill out, get some heals, but up top, the visual effect gives him away. And back he gets sent. Meanwhile, it's Booga, Craze, and Threats who are setting themselves up for the potential win.
Yeah, they're the only full trio left in this game. Reet is no longer in it, but Curly and Cooper were able to get the high ground in that moment. Kanata finally getting cleaned up. Another elimination for Craze. They need this game. We were talking about the bubble for global championship qualifiers. They're not even in the top 3 for those teams, but Craze finds and steals away that elimination from Peterbot, but he's ready to fight back. 1v3, those numbers, the math is math, and they're able to take it away, and now it's a 3v2. Cooper and Curly are ready for this fight.
This is a big fight for them right now. It's going to be hard to win with Cooper fully healthy here, but the material count, Curly just has a singular build. Cooper burns through what he had left, but the low ground team barely has any either, so Miss forms up, cancels it early. Booga takes the high ground, jumps down to support Threats. Threats falls here. Can the siphon come through? It's up to Booga and Craze, and of course, they do it in the end, and that will be their first victory royale.
Yeah, 8 eliminations. They're never out of the race, and they might have been looking a little bleak. Like I said, when it comes to the top 3 global championship spots, they weren't even one of those teams. They started this game in 7th place, 245 points, but with the amount of eliminations they got, Monster, with that victory royale, that was almost a 100+ point game.
That's exactly what they needed to put themselves closer and closer to that top 5, maybe even 3rd place seat. Remember, Muzz Shadow Sphinx fell early, so they did need a little bit of, you know, their momentum to kind of slow down, and they found it. But more importantly, they found so many elims in the end game there. Look at that. And then a full-on clash. Well played for Booga to just maintain kind of his strategy here, stay calm, and then take a Game 6 victory. It was just a matter of time for Booga, Threats, and Craze, though.
Yeah, especially since how consistent they have been playing up until this point. Every single game has been in the top 8, but that game number 5. And, well, they picked up the pace, they made up for lost time, and scored big to close out the day, Monster.
Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, that was a fun day 1 just to kick things off from myself and Jacob. We're out of here, so let's send it on Zeke to bring us home.
Thank you guys so much. As always, fantastic cast on the day. My gosh. Hey, Kelly, who won that?
What is it?
Booga! That's
Booga.
right! Let's go! Booga! 6th game victory. Thank you for joining on the joke with me, Kelly. I appreciate that. I cannot believe this from the trio in the last game of day number 1, right? We've kind of continued to see them like place within the top 10, right? They only had one game outside of the top 10. That was the top 15. And then every other game, it's like a 6th, an 8th, an 8th, a 3rd, and now a victory royale. Now, obviously, I think if we're trying to be critical, I think the one thing I would say is like, hey, overall, I'm loving what the team is doing. I think they probably just need to try and find a few more eliminations. But at the end of the day, and you'll see on the standings in just a moment, these guys are in top 5 right now, okay? This is a really strong place to be going into day 2. But I think we still have work to do for day number 2, right, Kelly?
Yeah, just to, you know, you want to be confident going into day number 2, and you want to be confident